Chapter 68. What? They're all dead? A man with no skin on his head roared angrily. Two bloody eyes, sharp and deep, made people dare not look directly at him. He was the patriarch of the corpse puppet clan Emohun. Patriarch, the sole lamps of the four great generals are all broken. On the ground there was a man with black gas kneeling. Damn it! Emohun clenched his fists, and his joints exploded. The four great generals, one of his most powerful subordinate. He just listened to the evil lord's order to let them go and capture the godly cunning immortal. Unexpectedly, he never returned. Even the escape talisman did not escape. It seems that the godly cunning immortal is far from as simple as imagined. This time, it's troublesome. Patriarch, what should we do now? Do you want to release the drought demon? Let him destroy the godly cunning immortal? No. Emohun refused directly. The drought demon is the trump card of our clan, and it will never be used unless it is a last resort. It is absolutely inappropriate to attack rashly without finding the residence of the godly cunning immortal. If we want to do it, we must kill him in one blow and not give him any chance to turn over. In addition, that group of bald donkeys came out again and began to destroy our good deeds, which is the biggest headache. Find out the bald donkeys hiding in the dark and obliterate them all. Emohun said. Patriarch is wise. All right, you're dismissed. Time flew by, and in a blink of an eye, it was another 2 days. These days, a major event spread throughout the western regions. This major event was the attack of the four evil clan corpse puppet generals on Jade Lake Palace. In a tea house in a certain city, a storyteller was surrounded by a group of cultivators. They listened carefully to the storyteller's eloquence and endless. Do you know? This time, it is the famous four heavenly kings of the corpse puppet clan. That means is simply destroying the heavens and the earth. With a wave of his hand, the entire Jade Lake Palace became dark and the wind blew. These winds, blowing on the cultivators, directly blasted into flying ashes. Countless immortal cultivators fell like wheat. How can a Jade Lake Palace resist the four heavenly kings? At this critical moment, the four heavenly kings even tried to kill the saint of Jade Lake Palace. The saintess of Jade Lake Palace is extremely beautiful. She is only 20 years old. How can she be the opponent of these four heavenly kings? It seems that the saintess will die in their hands. At this critical moment, guess what? At this point, the storyteller picked up the teacup and took a sip. Hurry up and say it. You're actually drinking tea at such a critical moment. You're really good at stirring up people's appetites. Exactly. Faced with the accusations of the immortal cultivators, the storyteller just smiled and said, Everyone, I haven't eaten today. I'm really exhausted. Let's talk about it another day. Isn't it just money? Is one spirit stone enough? I'll give you one too. A moment later, there was a pile of spirit stones in front of the storyteller. Since everyone is so generous, I will risk my life to accompany you. I won't be eating this meal. The storyteller continued. At this critical moment, the godly cunning immortal came. He is 10,000 meters tall, like an indomitable god. With a light wave, the bodies of the four heavenly kings collapsed and turned into powder. Even the soul was grasped by the godly cunning immortal and pinched into pieces. What? Even the soul didn't escape? The godly cunning immortal is too powerful. It's great that our human race has such a strong person. This godly cunning immortal is a supreme existence. Scenes like this were staged in various cities in the western regions. Even with the western regions as the center, it spread around. The name of the godly cunning immortal quickly spread to the ears of every cultivator and became a bright light in many people's hearts. Sun Hao naturally didn't know about this. At this moment, he was standing on the top of the stone tower, looking around. Ahead, in the great demon mountain range, it was shrouded in clouds and mist. It looked majestic and had a bit of immortal style. The scenery in this great demon mountain range is really endless. Sun Hao said. Young master is right, the wind and clouds of the great demon mountain change, every moment is unique. Huang Rumeng nodded. Rumeng, with you by my side, no scenery is as beautiful as you. Sun Hao said. Young master. Huang Rumeng blushed and lowered her head shyly. Rumeng can follow you, it's Rumeng's blessing. Rumeng, it's also my blessing to have you by my side. Sun Hao said. Young master. Huang Rumeng was moved and threw herself into Sun Hao's arms. The two hugged each other. Sun Hao stroked her hair lightly. At this time, bang, a sound rang out. The hairpin on Huang Rumeng's head fell to the ground and broke into two pieces. Finally broke. A sound that could not be heard by the ear sounded. It was Fun Zhao who was imprisoned in the hairpin that made this sound. After working hard day and night, Fun Zhao finally wiped out the thunder tribulation lightning and escaped. Haha, the old capital is finally free, no longer trapped in the hairpin. All this, thanks to the two of them, playing the guqin every day to help me break through. From today on, the old capital is a free man. After speaking, Fun Zhao turned into a transparent phantom and escaped from the hairpin. However, a big hand fell from the sky. The terrifying pressure, like the nine heavens prison, made Fun Zhao unable to move. This is impossible. My strength, in front of him, I don't even have the qualification to move. No, don't press me into the hairpin, don't. Fun Zhao struggled frantically. However, it was useless. It was pressed into the hairpin and couldn't move. The terrifying force of confinement shrouded the hairpin. Now, not to mention escaping the hairpin, even struggling in the hairpin, he couldn't do it. It's over, it's completely over. Fun Zhao's heart was like dead ashes, and he no longer moved. He looked at Sun Hao, and his eyes were full of horror. He is really a supreme existence. I'm afraid that the old ancestor of my clan is not qualified to be a dog for him. How could he be here? With him here, the old ancestor plans those things, I'm afraid. At this point, Fun Zhao's face was full of despair. It's cracked? Sun Hao picked up the hairpin on the ground, held it in his hand, and looked at it carefully. It's okay, young master. Huang Rumeng said. Rumeng, I'll make you another one. Sun Hao said. Hearing this, Huang Rumeng's eyes showed a strange light. Young master, you are so kind. This little thing is not worth mentioning, take me down. Sun Hao said. Yes, young master. The two landed, and Sun Hao went straight to the iron forging room. In less than half a moment, he created a spring. Afterward, he went to the carving room, selected 2 pieces of good wood, and carved them into 2 pieces. After installing the spring, it became a hairpin. There's still something missing. It should be inlaid with a few beads, then it will look better. By the way, the gem that Rumeng gave me last time is very beautiful. It's just right to be inlaid on it. However, those are used to decorate the room. Where did Rumeng find it? Let her look for it again, maybe she can find a few. Sun Hao picked up the 2 hairpins and looked at them for a while. The hairpin he made looked much better. If Fun Zhao was in the hairpin, it would be tragic. No, don't. Fun Zhao struggled wildly and screamed repeatedly. His body was torn apart a little, and then he was imprisoned in another hairpin. Although he didn't die, he didn't want to suffer this kind of tearing pain again. Damn it, I can only be imprisoned here for the rest of my life. Fun Zhao murmured, his face desperate. This new hairpin was completely a cage. Not to mention the current him, even if his strength was 10,000 times stronger, no, 100 million times stronger, he was afraid that he couldn't escape. At least, the supreme existence didn't kill me. He trapped me in here. Does he want me to do something for him? If so, isn't this my own good fortune? Thinking so, Fun Zhao's face rekindled the light of hope. Chapter 69. Rumeng, the hair clip is done. Sun Hao took the hairpin to Huang Rumeng. Young master. Huang Rumeng's eyes flickered, staring at Sun Hao. She tried to take the hair clip from Sun Hao's hand, but she couldn't move it at all. Rumming, there are still a few pearls missing. Sun Hao pointed to a few holes on the hairpin. Do you still have the gems you found last time? Demon crystal. Huang Rumming secretly said, instantly understanding Sun Hao's intention. Young master, wait a moment, I will look for it immediately. Okay, find more. Sun Hao said. Yes, young master. After saying that, Huang Rumming came to the backyard, her figure flashed, and instantly disappeared. Young master, are you home? Not long after Huang Rumming left, a voice came from the front yard. Hearing this, Sun Hao's eyes flashed. Immortal cultivators? It seemed to be Miss Mu Bing. Did she find a disciple for herself? Sun Hao's face was full of joy. Since the last time they left, they had only obtained more than 4,000 blessing points in the past few days. The acquisition of these blessing points was a little baffling. It seemed to be obtained while drinking tea. There was no pattern to gaining blessing points. The only rule was to give things to immortal cultivators. Sun Hao opened the door, and after seeing the old man next to Mu Bing, a hint of joy flashed across his face. Greetings, young master. When the two saw Sun Hao, they saluted respectfully. Miss Mu Bing, this is? Sun Hao asked. Young master, this is our dean, a Wenrenshi. Mu Bing said. It turns out to be senior one. Sun Hao clasped his fist. Young master, I wouldn't dare. Wenrenshi waved his hand again and again. Young master, you can call me old one. Old one? That's not very good, is it? Looking at his white hair and white beard, he must be an expert. How could he be so easy to talk to? Since the other party had requested it, he could only address him as such. Old one, Miss Mu, please come inside. Sun Hao made a gesture of invitation. Many thanks, young master. Wenrenshi cupped his fists, took out 8 pieces of black-veined immortal gold, and respectfully handed them to Sun Hao. Young master, this is just a small gift to show my respect. Please accept it. Wenrenshi looked nervous and uneasy. Truthfully speaking, how could a figure like the young master possibly take a fancy to this sort of low-grade immortal treasure? Come on, come on. You're too polite to take gifts. Sun Hao's face was full of smiles. Holding the black vein immortal gold, he sized it up and nodded in satisfaction. With so many black iron swords, they could at least forge 2 kitchen knives. It could even make 2 swords. What should I give them later? That's right, since they gave him black iron, then he would forge 2 long swords for them. This could be considered as taking it from him and using it for him. It was hard for them to refuse. How wonderful! Thinking of this, the corners of Sun Hao's mouth rose. When Wenrenshi saw this scene, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The young master accepted it and was quite happy about it. To be able to satisfy the young master, this was good fortune. Young master, we still have something to do, so we will leave first. Wenrenshi said. Since you're here, let's have a cup of tea first. Sun Hao said. Thank you, young master, no need. Wenrenshi said. Why are you leaving? It won't take long to drink a cup of tea. Since you're here, how can I let you go so easily? Facing this group of cultivators, as long as he pulled his face, wouldn't they be obedient? True enough. Wenrenshi's face changed slightly when he saw Sun Hao. His scalp was numb, and he quickly clasped his fists. Yes, young master. Please come inside. Sun Hao said. Okay. The two followed behind. Wenrenshi looked nervous and didn't dare to breathe, for fear of offending the demon immortals in the pond. He glanced at the 1,000-color god lotus from the corner of his eyes, and his face changed dramatically. That was an extremely terrifying existence. Just glancing at it from the corner of his eyes, his heart sank to hell, and his whole body was cold. It was terrifying. Even though he was psychologically prepared, this glance also scared Wenrenshi badly. Quack! A duck's cry sounded. Wenrenshi trembled with fright when he heard it. Mu Bing mentioned this cry many times. He didn't even dare to raise his head and followed Sun Hao all the way. "Humph, in your eyes, this old man is not worthy of looking at?" At this time, a voice sounded in his mind. Like the ninth heaven's divine thunder, Wenrencher's face changed dramatically. His face, which was originally red, became pale. "Senior, I dare not," Wenrencher said. "Humph, does this have anything to do with dare? Quickly raise your head." "Yes, Senior." Wenrencher raised his head, and when he saw Inu, his pupils shrank and his heart jumped. Sure enough, it was the nine heavens god Luan. Even before he released his might, he was already unable to muster any will to resist. Young Master was really a supreme existence, scared to death. Fortunately, he was well prepared. Otherwise, he would be scared half to death. Quack quack. Inu surrounded Sun Hao, rubbing around from time to time. Wenrencher couldn't hold anything else in his heart except shock. "You two, sit down for a while, I'll get the tea." After Sun Hao finished speaking, he walked to the inner room. Wenrencher sat in the pavilion, looking nervous. He didn't even dare to enjoy the beautiful scenery around him. He felt as if he was in a group of terrifying big shots, being stared at by countless pairs of eyes. At this moment, his back was sweating and the roots stood up. "Little Bing, the young master is such a terrifying existence, the tea he drinks, I'm afraid it's not simple, right?" After a long time, Wenrencher felt a little better and used divine sense to communicate. "Of course, if I'm right, the young master drinks at least supreme spirit tea, or even enlightenment tea," Mu Bing said. "How is this possible? Enlightenment tea tree, there is only one in this world, and only a few dozen tea leaves are produced in 3,000 years. Wenrencher said. Mu Bing smiled slightly and didn't speak. "Dean, you will be surprised later." After a while, Sun Hao came quickly. In his hand, he held a bag of tea. "Old one, Miss Mu, this is your first time drinking tea, so drink Dahongpo." After speaking, Sun Hao opened the tea leaves. At this moment, Wenrencher was completely stunned in place. The corners of his mouth trembled, and his voice trembled. "This, so much enlightenment tea, my God! Isn't there only one enlightenment tea tree in the whole world? There are at least thousands of pieces. How many years has the young master collected them? At least hundreds of thousands of years. In this way, the young master has lived for hundreds of thousands of years? No wonder he's so powerful. Hiss, what, dozens of pieces at a time? I must be dreaming." Wenrencher's heart beat violently, as if it was going to jump out of his throat. Soon, he would be able to drink enlightenment tea, and it was enlightenment tea with dozens of tea leaves. Ask the whole world, who else? If it weren't for the young master's presence, at this moment, he would definitely roar with excitement. For a long time, Wenrencher suppressed his beating heart and calmed down a little. Compared with Wenrencher, Mu Bing was not much better. When she saw Sun Hao grab dozens of tea leaves, her body trembled violently, and she was extremely excited. It took a long time for her to calm down. "Young master, why didn't I see Miss Rumming?" Mu Bing asked. "She helped me find the bead," Sun Hao said. As soon as these words came out, the two trembled. "The young master needs beads. This is the young master's new instructions. This may be related to the evil race, so we must keep it in mind." The two looked at each other and nodded secretly. "Young master, do you want me to help Miss Rumming find it?" Mu Bing asked. "No, you drink tea first. Look, the tea is ready." Chapter 70. After drinking tea, Wenrencher and Mu Bing's faces showed a look of joy. This time, his comprehension ability had increased by 100-fold. From now on, there would be no more obstacles in his cultivation. All of this is thanks to the young master. He would never forget such a great favor. The two looked at Sun Hao with gratitude. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao just smiled slightly. So what if they were immortal cultivators? In front of his tea ceremony, he obediently surrendered. "Old one, Miss Mu, are you using long swords?" Sun Hao asked. Yes, young master. The two nodded in unison. Can you show me? Sun Hao asked. Of course. The two took out the long sword and handed it to Sun Hao. Sun Hao drew out his long sword and looked up and down. Then, the corners of his mouth curled up. The workmanship of these two long swords was crude, and they couldn't compare to his junk. He was afraid that even wood would be hard to cut. Just nice, I'll forge 2 new ones for them. If he didn't accept it? At most, he would just pull a long face. Thinking of this, the corner of Sun Hao's mouth rose. You too, come with me. Sun Hao said. Yes, young master. The two stood up and followed Sun Hao to the iron forging room. Seeing the scene inside, the two of them were dumbfounded. Howl, a terrifying pressure blew over like a gale. Both of their bodies were pressed down to the point that they found it hard to breathe, and their faces were pale. Artifact spirit. They are all artifact spirits. When Rinshur looked at the smithy, their faces changed dramatically, and they hid behind Sun Hao. Only then did the two of them feel much better. Old One, Miss Mu, please wait a moment. After speaking, Sun Hao took out the black-veined immortal gold and threw it into the furnace. Then, he turned on the stove. Few raging flames soared into the sky. The black-veined immortal gold turned red at a visible rate. Seeing this scene, when Rinshur's face changed drastically, immortal fire, this is immortal fire. To be able to burn the black-veined immortal gold red in such a short time, it must be a supreme immortal fire. When Rinshur was shocked in his heart, and he was scared silly in place. He stared blankly at Sun Hao, picked up the hammer, and began to beat. Ding! The sound of metal clashing rang out. The black-veined immortal gold trembled violently and quickly spread out. 90% of the impurities had been removed. With one strike, 90% of the impurities were removed. He had never seen or heard of such a thing. This strike seemed simple, but it was earth-shattering. When Rinshur had a feeling that if this hammer hit the Supreme Court Western Courtyard, he was afraid that the entire Supreme Court Western Courtyard would be moved to the ground. Ding! Another hammer strike. All the impurities were removed. The hammer in Sun Hao's hand was like a whirlwind, beating quickly. Every hammer strike contained not a bit of strength, not a bit more, not a bit less. When Rinshur watched this scene, and the scenery in front of him changed rapidly. At this moment, he was the only one left in the world. In other words, he was the entire world. He had reached the legendary state of being one with heaven and man. An immortal skill quickly took shape in his mind. After a long time, he woke up from the state of the unity of heaven and man. This is the legendary sky-blasting hammer technique. This is a celestial skill. I actually succeeded in comprehending it. Moreover, I was actually able to change it into the heaven-blasting sword art. When Rinshur clenched his fists, his body trembling slightly with excitement. The fortune obtained from this trip was simply unimaginable. He had hope of becoming an immortal. Thank you, young master. In the future, if the young master has any errands, I will not hesitate to sacrifice my life. When Rinshur looked at Sun Hao, his face full of gratitude. Sun Hao continued to wave the hammer in his hand and continued to beat. A quarter of an hour later, 2 long swords were formed. It was dark, emitting a sharp metallic luster. Fixed shape, opened the blade. The total time added up to less than half an hour. The 2 long swords were held in Sun Hao's hands. Old One, Miss Mu, I've been waiting for a long time. Are you satisfied with these 2 long swords? Sun Hao handed the 2 swords to the 2 people. When Rinshur was startled, picked up one of them and looked at it carefully. In his eyes there was a look of shock. This is an immortal weapon. My God! The young master's refining skill is earth-shattering. When Rinshur kept looking at it, but he couldn't confirm its specific grade even after exhausting all his method. One thing was certain, it was definitely an immortal weapon. With black-veined immortal gold alone, he could forge an immortal weapon. No one in the world could match this refining skill. Any refiner was just a joke in front of the young master. The young master's sword is almost flawless, perfect. One Rincher said. Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth with a proud face. The supreme forging technique, that was no joke. It seemed that the weapons used by cultivators were also very ordinary. Should I go to the world of cultivators to open a weapon shop? No. The world of cultivators was too dangerous. The evil race was already so terrifying. What if another demon jumped out? It was safer to stay on the mountain. Since you like it, then they are yours, Sun Hao said. Young master, how can this be? When the two heard it, their faces changed drastically. How dare they accept this kind of immortal weapon? This thing must not be accepted. The two waved their hands again and again. What? Do you look down on my two swords? Sun Hao pulled his face and pretended to be angry. The two's faces changed drastically. Young master, you misunderstood. I didn't mean that. Since the young master wants to give it to us, then we will accept it. Thank you, young master. The two took a long sword, held it in their hands, and looked at it carefully. Ding, the blessing point plus 500. Ding, the blessing point plus 200. Hearing these two sounds, Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth, and his heart was secretly happy. These cultivators were really strange. If they pulled down their faces a little, they would be scared and their faces would change drastically. Obediently accept my gift. Am I really a supreme big shot? Dream on. Sun Hao shook his head secretly and put this idea away. However, in general, this way of harvesting the blessing point was really comfortable. Good sword, good sword. When Rincher held the long sword and kept cheering. Suddenly, Master, a voice sounded in his mind. When Rincher's body froze, full of disbelief. Artifact spirit? And it's a newborn artifact spirit? And recognized me as the master? At this moment, when Rincher was completely shocked in place. Once a newborn artifact spirit recognizes a master, it will only follow the original master and never betray. Unless the original master dies, it will be subdued by a powerful cultivator. This kind of newborn artifact spirit has infinite possibilities. Moreover, the shaping space is huge. In other words, the immortal sword in his hand has growth potential. Hiss, when Rincher took a breath of cold air, and his body trembled slightly with excitement. This kind of immortal sword, selling the entire Supreme Court, can't be exchanged for one. Young master, you actually gave us one each? And you can't not accept it. What is the meaning of this? When Rincher thought secretly, and his heart became more and more uneasy. Hey, young master is immortal, it's not good to ask directly, it's really a headache. I don't know, young master, what do you mean? When Rincher frowned and thought deeply. On the other side, compared with when Rincher, Mu Bing was even worse. She held the long sword as if stroking a child. After a long time, the two calmed down, and their faces showed anxiety. They respectfully clasped their fists to Sun Hao. Thank you, young master, we still have something to do today, so we will leave first. Since you two have something to do, I can't keep you. Remember to come often. Sure, sure. Watching when Rincher and Mu Bing disappear, Sun Hao withdrew his gaze. Today's harvest is good. This one Rincher is a big fish. It would be great if he came often in the future. Sun Hao opened the panel and saw that the blessing point had reached 15,380 points. One step closer to 1,000,000 blessing points. If this goes on, it won't be long before he can collect 1,000,000, obtain a supreme physique, and start the road of cultivation. Chapter 71. The Center of the Great Demon Mountain Range. Hundreds of great demons gathered in one place to hold the Demon Lord selection. The selection was extremely brutal. Whoever was the strongest would be the next Demon Lord. A large tiger with white forehead leaped up and stood on the stage, its gaze sweeping around. I'm untalented, but I'm willing to be the Demon Lord. If you don't agree, then step forward. Finished. Roar! The tiger's roar shook the forest. The expressions of the greater demons changed drastically. Many great beasts backed off with terrified expressions. The white tiger has reached the peak of the Mahayana stage. He is only one step away from the crossing calamity stage. How terrifying! The position of demon lord will definitely belong to the white tiger. Hearing this, the eyes of the white-fronted tiger flickered, and its face was filled with a hint of pride. At this moment, I can't accept this. A two-headed rhinoceros stepped forward. Boom! Boom! Every step the two-headed rhinoceros took caused the ground to tremble. Its huge body was twice the size of the white-fronted tiger. His body exuded a metallic luster, making him look indestructible. Humph! Since you want to challenge me, you should be prepared to die. After saying that, the white-fronted tiger pounced at the twin-headed rhinoceros. Waves of demonic wind billowed. The shock waves whistled and spread in all directions. The lesser demons nearby didn't even have the chance to struggle before they were smashed to pieces. The entire mountain forest was filled with explosions. It looked extremely terrifying. After a long while, only then did the sounds of battle gradually stop. The two-headed rhinoceros was covered in wounds. The white-fronted tiger pressed down on its body, its claws locked onto its vital parts. Do you surrender? The twin-headed rhinoceros looked dispirited and sighed inwardly. Demon Lord, little rhinoceros accepts. Ha ha! The white-fronted tiger let out a wild laugh and looked around. Who else is unconvinced? Wherever he looked, the monsters all knelt on the ground. The white-forehead tiger was about to ascend to the position of Demon Lord. At this moment, ha ha! The position of Demon Lord belongs to me. After that, a figure slowly condensed. He was dressed in black and his face could not be seen clearly. That extremely dangerous aura caused the surrounding great demons to retreat. The shadow pointed at the white tiger. You can come down now. When the white-fronted tiger heard this, its face was filled with rage. It wasn't easy for him to become the demon lord, but cultivators actually came to make trouble. Preposterous! You're a human. Is it appropriate for you to be the demon lord? The big white tiger said. Hee, are you doubting me? The black silhouette said coolly. So what if I doubt it? Do you really think you're somebody? With that said, the white-fronted tiger transformed into a gust of wind and pounced straight at the black shadow. Boom! There was a loud noise. The black shadow was like a kite with a broken string, flying backward and heavily hitting a rock. The entire rock burst open. Humph, you overestimate yourself. The white tiger's face was full of disdain. In the next second, its expression changed drastically. The black shadow had unknowingly appeared in front of him. Since that's the case, I'll show you my power. After saying that, the black shadow's body rapidly changed. His head split into 2, then into 4. In the end, it turned into 9 heads. It stretched its long neck and stretched upwards. Black chi surged wildly from its body. Seeing this, the surrounding beasts were astounded. Hydra! How could such a great demon come here? It is said that the Hydra was born in the Mahayana realm. Looking at its strength, it is at least in the ascendant realm. When the white-fronted tiger saw the Hydra, it was scared to death. It crawled on the ground shivering. Demon Lord, spare my life. Dare to provoke this seat's divine power, kill it. I don't think it's necessary. The princess's life and death are unknown, and it's needed to help find her. One more is not much, one less is not much, it's the same. I think that's fine. The 9 heads let out different sounds. Most of the heads supported the destruction of the white-fronted tiger. The white-fronted tiger's body sank into hell, and it instantly lost its spirit. The Hydra's tongue spat wildly and rushed toward the white-fronted tiger. Seeing that, the white-fronted tiger was about to be torn into pieces. At this time, a figure appeared in front of the Hydra. Her white clothes were whiter than snow, and her body was surrounded by immortal chi. She was so beautiful that it was suffocating. The person who came was Huang Rumeng. Hydra, it's really you. Huang Rumeng looked at the Hydra and said calmly. The expressions of the 9 heads changed, and each was different. There was panic, pride, and disbelief. Princess, it seems that you are not dead yet. I really didn't expect that you not only recovered, but your strength has also increased a lot. Since you know everything, then don't blame me. As soon as the words fell, the Hydra rushed into a bolt of lightning and rushed toward Huang Rumeng. The 9 heads spewed out different poisonous mists, and in an instant it enveloped Huang Rumeng. Ha ha! Princess, you are really dull, you don't even understand the principle of striking first and gaining the upper hand. Yes, we have followed her for so long, it's really stupid. The 9 heads spat out different voices. However, in the next second, the Hydra's expression changed drastically. They looked at Huang Rumeng and kept shaking their heads. This is impossible, this is absolutely impossible. This is a dream. Ouch, why did you bite me? It hurts so much. Exclamations kept sounding. They saw that when the poisonous mist touched Huang Rumeng, it was all evaporated into nothingness by her clothes. Couldn't get close at all. To be able to isolate our poison, it is at least a superb spirit weapon. This kind of thing, if it is used as a gift to the master, it will get supreme benefits. Give a fart, naturally it is for our own use. The Hydra stared at Huang Rumeng as if staring at a treasure. Hee, that depends on whether you have a life to enjoy it? After speaking, Huang Rumeng gently waved her hands. What she used was the Nirvana handprint that she realized from Sun Hao. Buzz, space was still. Time froze. The only thing that was moving was Huang Rumeng's handprint. The Hydra was stunned in place, and could only watch the handprint attack helplessly. What is this? It's terrible. It's over, the strength of the princess is at least the 3rd stage of Ascendant Realm. As soon as these thoughts were formed, the Nirvana hand blasted on it. Boom, boom. The sound of explosions kept ringing. The Hydra's 8 heads and 8 necks directly exploded into powder. The remaining head lay on the ground, shivering. Princess, spare me, I didn't betray you, they betrayed you. I really can't tell you the truth, please spare my life. After speaking, the Hydra, no, a snake kept kowtowing. Huang Rumeng looked at a snake, and her voice was cold. You are still alive now because you have not betrayed me. From today onwards, you will be the Demon Lord. You must report to me at all times. After speaking, Huang Rumeng threw out a jade slip and threw it in front of a snake. Thank you, Princess. Thank you, Princess. I will definitely complete the task. A snake kept kowtowing. Listen to me again. After speaking, Huang Rumeng took out the ancient zither and began to play. Chapter 72. Ding! The sound of the ancient zither spread throughout the demon cave. A wave of spiritual energy, like a tsunami, was brewing with the sound of the zither. As Huang Rumeng's rhythm accelerated, the spiritual energy became more active. The spiritual energy formed 8 huge waves and rushed to the 8 wounds of a snake. 8 heads grew out quickly. When the sound of the zither ended, the 9-headed snake recovered as before. However, there was only one consciousness in the whole body. Thank you, Princess. The 9-headed snake sensed all his changes, and his body trembled with excitement. He looked at Huang Rumeng's eyes full of gratitude. After you are the Demon Lord for a while, take my head back to report, Huang Rumeng said. As soon as these words came out, the 9-headed snake shivered in fear, crawled on the ground, and kept kowtowing. Princess, I don't dare. Princess, don't worry, I have no intention of betrayal. The 9-headed snake kept kowtowing. I'm not asking you to kill me. After speaking, Huang Rumeng waved her right hand, and a head quickly condensed in the void. This head looked exactly the same as Huang Rumeng's. The blood inside was exactly the same as in her body. This head, as long as I don't meet an immortal, I can't see any clues. After a month, you take this head, go back to report, and then report everything to me," Huang Rumeng said. Looking at the fake head in the sky, the nine-headed snake breathed a sigh of relief. "Princess, don't worry, leave everything to me." The nine-headed snake patted his chest. "Okay, I have something to leave, and I will leave this place to you." After speaking, Huang Rumeng waved her right hand, and the 8 demon cores flew back and fell into her palm. Immediately afterward, her figure disappeared instantly. When she appeared again, she had returned to the backyard. "Rumeng, how is it? Did you find the gem?" Seeing Huang Rumeng, Sun Hao looked happy. "Young master, I just found 8, is it enough?" After speaking, Huang Rumeng took out the 8 demon cores of the nine-headed snake. "Just right." Sun Hao took the demon cores in his hand and went to the carving room. After some manipulation, the 8 demon cores were successfully embedded in the hair clip. The 8 demon cores were of different colors. They were shiny and very dazzling. Sun Hao took them in his hand and nodded with satisfaction. "It looks so much better. Rumeng should like it." After speaking, Sun Hao picked up the hairpin and walked out. There were 2 sides to the conversation. After when Rensher and Mu Bing left Sun Hao's residence, they were depressed. "Dean, with your knowledge, can't you understand the young master's deep meaning?" Mu Bing asked. "How can young master's instructions be so easily understood?" When Rensher shook his head for a while, his face bitter. "Young master needs beads? What kind of bead is it? Also, why did the young master give us the immortal sword? Do you want us to help you find the pearl? Where to find it and how to find it are really difficult." When Rensher sighed. "Dean, why don't we go to Jade Lake Palace? Maybe Lu Yen will know." Mu Bing said. "That's reasonable. 3 cobblers are worth a fortune teller. Let's go to the Jade Lake Palace." When Rensher's eyes bloomed, and he flew quickly to the Jade Lake Palace. "Dean, slow down, wait for me." Mu Bing used all her strength, but still couldn't catch up with Wen Rensher. "So slow, when will you break through to the Ascendant Realm?" "Forget it, I'll take you there." After speaking, Wen Rensher waved his right hand, and a spiritual energy wrapped Mu Bing. Immediately afterward, the 2 turned into a long rainbow and rushed away. Half a day later, the 2 came to the secret room of the Jade Lake Palace. "Dean, what can I do for you?" Luo Luyen asked. "Luyen, we just gave the young master the black-veined immortal crystal, and the young master built 2 immortal weapons for us." After speaking, when Rensher went straight to the point, took out the immortal sword, and handed it to Luo Luyen. Seeing the immortal sword in front of her, Luo Luyen's pupils shrank, and her face was full of shock. "It's actually a growth immortal weapon? Was it really made by the young master?" Luo Luyen asked. "Of course, we saw the young master make it with our own eyes," Mu Bing said. Hearing this, Luo Luyen took a breath. "So, the young master not only did not accept your gifts, but also made you an immortal weapon?" Luo Luyen asked. "Not bad." The 2 nodded at the same time. "Tell me everything from the time you met the young master to the time he gave you the immortal sword. Don't miss every expression and every movement of the young master," Luo Luyen said. "Good." Wen Rensher said. From the beginning to the end, it was very detailed. Luo Luyen listened carefully, frowning and thinking. "In this way, the young master really wants you to find the bead. It's hard to understand what kind of bead it is for a while," Luo Luyen said. "Yes, we are also distressed. If we take a common bead, it will definitely chill the young master's heart. Not to mention becoming the young master's disciple, this path of creation will be cut off." Wen Rensher's face was bitter and fidgety. Compared with the Dean who controlled everything before, it was a far cry. "Dean, even you can't figure it out, I can't figure it out for a while." Luo Luyen shook her head slightly. "Since the young master wants to find the bead, how about we carry out the elimination method?" At this time, Chen Daoming stood up. "Elimination method?" Everyone's faces were full of doubts. The young master has even sent the immortal sword, and the place he is going must be a dangerous place. In this dangerous place, there must be bead treasures. We just need to find all these dangerous places in the Tianluo continent with beads, check them one by one, and eventually get the desired results. Chen Daoming said. As soon as these words came out, several people's faces were full of joy. This is a good idea. Fellow Daoist Chen, you are quick-witted and have a very high perception. This old man thanks you. Well said, well said. Several people looked at Chen Daoming, and their eyes flickered. Who has a map? I do. Spreading out the map, all 5 people stared at it. Tianluo continent, these 5 life forbidden zones must be dangerous. However, let alone us, even if the immortals enter, they may not be able to get out. So, let's first abandon the 5 life forbidden zones and look for other dangerous places. What do you think? Chen Daoming asked. Little brother is right, I agree. One Rincher said. I don't agree. Luo Luyan shook her head slightly and said. Leader Luo, what do you think? Chen Daoming said. How can the bead that the young master needs be a secular object? In other dangerous places, the bead that can be obtained is at most a spiritual object? Does the young master want such a bead? To find an immortal object in the Tianluo continent, only the 5 life forbidden zones have it. Luo Luyan said. As soon as these words came out, everyone nodded in unison. Leader Luo is right, so we can only choose one of these 5 life forbidden zones. Yes. Chapter 73. Let's talk about the first one, the sinful cemetery. It said that it was formed in ancient times. Legend has it that the Blue Moon ancient clan invaded the human race and wreaked havoc everywhere. The human race was in danger. At this critical moment, immortal Venerable Meng Lang sacrificed his own lifespan to condense a destructive attack that annihilated the entire Blue Moon clan. The force field formed by that punch, combined with the resentment of the Blue Moon tribe members, has the power to tear everything apart. Even if an immortal were to enter, it would be disastrous. Even after so many years have passed, none of the immortal cultivators who have entered have ever come out. When Rincher said word by word, and when he heard everyone's ears, he couldn't help but have goosebumps. The forbidden zone of life was truly terrifying. Luyan, what do you think? When Rincher asked. If the Blue Moon race invades, then this Sin Cemetery will definitely have the Blue Moon race's ultimate treasure, the Blue Moon Pearl. This thing can suppress yin and yang, reverse the 5 elements, and freeze and crack everything. I don't know if young master needs this bead. Luo Luyan said. Then it's possible. If that's the case, I'll note this down first. Then, I'll analyze the next one. All right. Just like that, the 5 of them began to analyze the 5 forbidden zones. Every single one of them told him everything they knew without holding anything back. After a while, now there is only the life forbidden zone of our western regions, the Blood Phoenix Nest. Luo Luyan said. In the Blood Phoenix Nest, there is a peerless demon beast, the Blood Phoenix. Legend has it that the Blood Phoenix was the patriarch of the Divine Phoenix clan. It invaded the human clan and was later sealed in the Blood Phoenix Nest by Han Xing. Above the Blood Phoenix Nest is a forbidden zone of death. There are rugged rocks inside and spiritual energy is scarce. Moreover, there are wild beasts everywhere and cultivators are extremely dangerous. That's not the most terrifying part. Especially the sky above the forbidden death zone. It's shrouded in phoenix smoke. Even if an immortal were to fly over it, he would die. Even if I can enter the forbidden death zone, finding the entrance to the Blood Phoenix Nest is as difficult as ascending to heaven. Hearing this, everyone felt a chill run down their spines. The Blood Phoenix Nest sounded even more terrifying. Dean, is there anything like beads in the Blood Phoenix Nest? Luo Luyan asked. According to the ancient records, the thing suppressing the Blood Phoenix seems to be called the soul-suppressing orb. However, there are no relevant records on what this thing is used for and what it is used for. No one knows what the specific dangers are in the blood phoenix nest, because none of the cultivators who had entered had come out. Its degree of danger is even more terrifying than the Sin Cemetery. One rancher said. In that case, the blood phoenix nest is also one of the choices. Then we need to choose one from this Sin Cemetery and the blood phoenix nest, Luo Luyan said. And everyone nodded simultaneously. Although Su Yiling was still confused, she also nodded along. Which of the two places should I choose? When it came to choosing one of the two, everyone was in a dilemma. Everyone furrowed their brows, revealing a pensive look. How about this, I go to the Sin Cemetery, and you go to the blood phoenix nest? One rancher said. Dean, you can't. Lu Luyan shook her head. Since the young master has calculated everything, then these two immortal swords must not be separated. Otherwise we can't get what the young master need. Thank you for reminding me. One rancher's face showed a touch of fear. I heard that the blood phoenix nest has been shaking very badly recently. It seems that the blood phoenix is about to break out of the ground. At this time, Mu Bing said. As soon as these words came out, everyone was taken aback. There was a sudden realization on Luo Luyan's face. I understand, the answer is in the blood phoenix nest. Luo Luyan looked sure. What do you mean by this? One rancher asked. The blood phoenix nest is shaking, and the blood phoenix nest is breaking out of the ground. Can the young master calculate it? Luo Luyan asked. Of course. One rancher nodded. What cultivation technique does the blood phoenix cultivate? Luo Luyan asked. One rancher frowned in thought and suddenly raised his eyebrows. He seems to be cultivating the devouring heaven demonic art. As soon as these words came out, the faces of several others changed dramatically. The devouring heaven demonic art relied on devouring other creatures to grow oneself, which was against the harmony of heaven. Once this kind of monster broke out of the ground, it would be a disaster for the entire Tianluo continent and even the entire Xiang star. At that time, who would deal with it? Thinking about it made people shiver all over. Once the blood phoenix breaks out of the ground, I don't need to say more about the consequences, right? Luo Luyan said. Luyan, don't talk in riddles, finish it all. One rancher said. Yes, Dean. Luo Luyan smiled slightly and continued to speak. Since the young master doesn't like the evil race and wants to destroy its whole race, he doesn't like the blood phoenix even more. Luo Luyan said. Luyan, do you mean that the young master asked us to go to the blood phoenix nest to seize the pearl, and secretly told us to destroy the blood phoenix? One rancher asked. Not bad. Luo Luyan nodded. As soon as these words came out, everyone took a breath of cold air. The young master's intention was so deep. The young master is so righteous, for the sake of the common people, regardless of the damage to his Tao heart, he pointed out so obviously. Yes, the young master's benevolence and righteousness are unmatched in the world. Several people's faces were full of moved expressions. The young master pointed out so obviously, and we still can't understand it. It's so stupid. Today, if it wasn't Luo Luyan, who could understand it? Everyone looked at Luo Luyan with admiration. Leader Luo, your perception is unparalleled in the world. Chen Daoming said while clasping his fist. You flatter me, this is everyone's wisdom. If we have one less person, I may not be able to understand it. Luo Luyan said. Leader Luo, you are too modest. That's right. Luyan, you are too modest, that's arrogance. Su Yiling stood next to her, showing a touch of embarrassment on her face. From beginning to end, she didn't say a word. She scratched her head, her face full of confusion. The young master just sent out 2 immortal swords and said that Sister Rumeng went to get the bead. How did it become going to the blood phoenix nest to get the bead and kill the blood phoenix? The young master's test is really too difficult. Why do I feel that my brain is getting stupider and stupider? Since I met the young master, I feel like a stupid girl, AI. Su Yiling sighed again and again, looking dispirited. In that case, let's confirm the candidates to go to the Blood Phoenix nest this time, Luo Luyen said. Entering the Blood Phoenix nest, 9 out of 10 will die. Those who enter inside cannot be too weak. Everyone, what realm are you in? One Rincher said. I am in the early stage of crossing calamity, Luo Luyen said. I am in the middle stage of crossing calamity, Mu Bing said. I am only in the late stage of void transformation, Su Yiling said. I have just reached the early stage of Deshang, Chen Daoming said. I have just reached the first step of the Ascendant Realm, this Blood Phoenix nest, naturally count me in, one Rincher said. As the leader of the Evil Slayer Alliance, I can't stay out of it, Luo Luyen said. I have the immortal sword that the young master gave me, and the young master appointed me to go. Mu Bing said lightly. I want to go too, Su Yiling said. Count me in too, Chen Daoming said. No. Luo Luyen looked at Chen Daoming and Su Yiling. Leader Chen, as the deputy leader, you need to take care of the Evil Slayer Alliance. Yiling, you are the Holy Maiden, and Master is not here. Everything in Jade Lake Palace needs you to take care of it. In addition, you too are low in strength. It is difficult for us to guarantee your safety. Cultivate hard in Jade Lake Palace, Luo Luyen said. The two lowered their heads and said nothing more. When will we leave? One Rincher asked. I think 10 days later, Dean Mu Bing. You go back and prepare. I also have to prepare. 10 days later, come to Jade Lake Palace to gather. Okay. Chapter 74. Thousands of miles north of the Great Demon Mountain, there was a forbidden zone for life, the Blood Phoenix Nest. Above the Blood Phoenix Nest, there was an endless forbidden zone of death, and red phoenix smoke shrouded the surroundings. Like blood, it shrouded the inside impenetrable. Boom, in the forbidden zone of death, there was a constant vibration, low and rapid. The sand on the ground was trembling slightly. On this day, the vibration became lighter and lighter, and finally, it gradually disappeared. In the sky, the red phoenix smoke was gradually falling. North of the forbidden zone of death, more than a dozen black vortexes emerged. One after another, masked men in black armor emerged from the vortex. The two leaders were surrounded by black gas, covering their whole bodies, and their figures could not be seen clearly. The two of them were called Soul Eater and Soul Eater, and they were the commanders of the evil race. Beside the two of them, there were 10 generals. It seems that the high priest did not miscalculate. In a few days, the phoenix smoke will sink more than half. At that time, we can see inside and enter safely, Soul Eater said. Yes, but is it necessary to send us for a soul-calming pearl? Soul Eater said. How can we understand the meaning of the high priest and the patriarch? We just need to follow the order, Soul Eater said. Sigh, this is the only way. However, this Blood Phoenix nest is a forbidden zone for life. Is it safe for us to enter it? Soul Eater said. Jie, Soul Eater pointed at Soul Eater and let out a strange laugh. Are you still alive? As soon as these words came out, Soul Eater's expression stagnated, and he nodded unwillingly. Okay, hide first. These 12 figures slowly disappeared as if they had never appeared. Soon after, at the south entrance of the Blood Phoenix Mountain, a long rainbow landed quickly and turned into a middle-aged man. He looked inside the forbidden zone of death, and his eyes were full of light. The vibration has disappeared, and the phoenix smoke is also sinking. It seems that the Blood Phoenix nest is about to open. I must inform the patriarch as soon as possible. After speaking, the man took out a piece of communication jade slip and quickly engraved words on it. Then, with a gentle pinch, the jade slip turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the horizon. Okay. The middle-aged man turned into a long rainbow and left quickly. Not long after he left, a few figures flew over. After taking a look at the forbidden death zone, their eyes shone brightly. Without saying a word, they each took out a jade slip to send a message. The news that the Blood Phoenix nest was about to open spread throughout the Tianluo continent in less than half a day. Heaven Luo Continent, Central Region Sacred Ground, Xianyuan family's main hall. The head of the family, Xianyuan Yi, sat in the main seat and looked at the message on the jade slip in his hand. His eyes shone with a strange light. The Blood Phoenix nest vibrates and disappears, and the phoenix smoke sinks. Xianyuan Yi said. Hearing these words, the eyes of the elders in the other seats lit up as they whispered to each other. What? The tremors disappeared? Could it be that the Blood Phoenix was powerless to struggle? In this way, isn't the Blood Phoenix nest about to open? Great. It is said that there is a soul-suppressing orb inside. What use does the soul-suppressing orb have? He had no idea. If we can obtain the Blood Phoenix's demon core, it will be a supreme good fortune for our clan. The Blood Phoenix seems to have a heaven-devouring demonic technique. If we can obtain it together, then my Xianyuan family will definitely become the #1 family in the Tianluo continent. Such voices kept ringing out. Under Xianyuan Yi's constant gestures, the scene gradually quieted down. Elders, the Blood Phoenix's demon core must be obtained. Who among you is willing to go? As soon as these words came out, there was dead silence all around. All the elders lowered their heads and remained silent. Humph! Seeing this scene, Xianyuan Yi snorted coldly and shook his head for a while. This group of elders had been pampered for a long time. They usually clamored very loudly, but when they were asked to do something dangerous, they became a group of cowards. In Xianyuan Yi's eyes, a murderous intent flashed. Who is willing to go to the Blood Phoenix nest? Xianyuan Yi's voice increased. Me! At this moment, a woman's voice sounded. Everyone's eyes swept to this woman, and they couldn't help but look stunned. What? It's her. Xianyuan sure? She is so careless that she even dares to go to the Blood Phoenix nest. Does she want to die? It's just right for her to go. The group of elders whispered to each other below. You? Xianyuan Yi frowned slightly. Yes, Patriarch. As a member of the Xianyuan family, it is my duty to do something for the family. Xianyuan sure said. You are still young and your strength is still weak. Don't get involved in this matter. Xianyuan Yi waved his hand. Patriarch, go down. Xianyuan Yi said. Xianyuan sure was speechless for a while. Patriarch, I have something to say. At this time, the Great Elder stood up. Great Elder, please speak. Xianyuan Yi said. Xianyuan sure is already 80 years old, and she is not young. In addition, her strength is already at the second stage of the Ascendant Realm. In the entire Tianluo continent, she can also be ranked. As a family sequence, it is natural to share the family's burden. In addition, this time, for Xianyuan sure, it is also a growth. Instead of raising her at home, it is better to let her go out to exercise. The Great Elder said. Patriarch, I also think Xianyuan sure can go. Yes, Patriarch, you won't raise her like a flower just because she is your daughter, will you? You are presumptuous. Xianyuan Yi was furious. What? To tell the truth, Patriarch, do you want to kill me? Yes, Patriarch, if you do this, it will disappoint us. Soon, Xianyuan Yi was accused by a group of elders, and suddenly like a deflated ball. Father, I am willing to go. When Xianyuan sure said this, her eyes swept to a group of elders. Elders, you can rest assured that I will go to the Blood Phoenix nest. That's good. Niece, rest assured that we will guard the Xianyuan family and will not let other families succeed. You can rest assured that as long as you get back the monster core, the first sequence is yours. A group of elders patted their chests and promised. Xianyuan Yi saw this scene, and anger surged in his chest. He looked at Xianyuan sure and sighed secretly. Little sure, father is useless. Even as a patriarch, I am still isolated. Remember what you said. Xianyuan sure turned back, took a step, and strode out of the hall. Then, she turned into a long rainbow, and flew quickly to the location of the blood phoenix nest. Not long after she left, a phantom slowly condensed and formed. He looked in the direction of the hall and sighed secretly. Patriarch, when I am not here, you have to be careful. After saying that, he followed Xianyuan Shi's direction and quickly left. In the hall, the corners of several elders' mouths were slightly raised, and they looked proud. You really sent him out. Xianyuan Yi, you are quite confident. This is interesting. Xianyuan Yi, let's see what you do. Oh, this Xianyuan family is going to change. I'd better be careful. Several elders looked at Xianyuan Yi with different expressions. Chapter 75. When the blood phoenix nest opened, many forces in the Tianluo continent went out to the blood phoenix nest. For a time, the wind and clouds surged. At this moment, the forbidden zone for life had turned into a cornucopia, and all the forces wanted a share of the spoils. As the leader of the Suppressing Evil Alliance, Luo Luyen was the first to learn that the blood phoenix nest was about to open. Immediately, she contacted Wenrenshi and asked them to come to the Jade Lake Palace quickly. I didn't expect that the young master had already calculated that the blood phoenix nest was about to open. Luo Luyen looked in the direction of the great demon mountain with a look of worship. Young master, don't worry, this soul-suppressing orb will definitely be delivered. This blood phoenix must be killed. Luo Luyen clenched her fists with a firm face. For these, Sun Hao naturally did not know. At this moment, he was playing the zither with Huang Rumeng. The zither played in unison, and the temperament vibrated out. The two songs blended together perfectly, creating a moving melody. Hearing it, one felt comfortable all over. The flower of the demonic lotus trembled violently. The two cherry trees danced gracefully, their branches trembling. The medicine garden, the flower garden, the tea garden, all the flowers and trees were dancing. Suddenly, Huang Rumeng clutched her chest, revealing a look of pain. Child, come quickly, I can't hold on any longer. Only juniors with the bloodline of the divine phoenix can hear my voice. My inheritance cannot be destroyed here. It needs to be passed on to future generations as soon as possible. If you hear these calls, come to the blood phoenix nest, the old voice resounded in his mind. His heart pounded violently as if it was about to explode. Beads of sweat slowly overflowed from Huang Rumeng's forehead. Rumeng, what's wrong? Sun Hao hurried to Huang Rumeng's side and helped her up. Young master, I'm fine. I've made you worry. Huang Rumeng revealed a pale smile. You're fine? Your face is so pale. After speaking, Sun Hao held Huang Rumeng's hand and began to check her pulse. Your heart rate is unstable. It should be affected by some kind of sound wave. Rumeng, did you hear some kind of sound? Sun Hao said. Huang Rumeng looked startled, looking at Sun Hao as if he was a monster, and then nodded silently. Young master, old Ancestor is calling me. I may have to leave for a while. Huang Rumeng said. Ancestor? What ancestor? Sun Hao asked. Huang Rumeng looked at Sun Hao, and after sighing secretly, she spoke. Young master, in fact, I have the blood of the monster race flowing in my body. My clan's ancestor, Blood Phoenix, is calling me. Huang Rumeng said. Blood Phoenix. Sun Hao frowned. He had never heard of this name. He had always lived on the mountain and knew very little about the affairs of the world. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something. He took out a map from his arms, pointed to the 3 big characters of Blood Phoenix Nest and asked, Are you going here? That's right, young master. Huang Rumeng nodded. This time, I came to the Great Monster Mountain to investigate the Blood Phoenix Nest. Sun Hao didn't speak and just stared at the 3 scarlet characters of Blood Phoenix Nest in a daze. This map was a product of the system. Red represented extreme danger. How long will it take for you to come back from there? Sun Hao asked. Young master, I don't know, as short as a few months, long as a few decades, Huang Rumeng said. Hearing this, Sun Hao's heart trembled. So long? Without her, would he become a loner again? How could this be? Looking at the beautiful elf in front of him, he was in a daze. He didn't know when he had been fascinated by her. Hearing that she was going to leave, there were 10,000 kinds of reluctance in his heart. As a mortal, he could only live for a few decades. When she saw him again, he was afraid that he had turned into a pile of bones. So sad. Sun Hao looked at Huang Rumeng. Rumeng, can you not go? Young master, Huang Rumeng shook her head slightly. The old ancestor is calling, I'm afraid I have to go. Blood Phoenix Nest was a dangerous place. If he went, he was afraid it would be very dangerous. By the way, she had an expert behind her. That expert could even control the weather. Besides, she was just going to the burial place of the old ancestor. The danger could be ignored. What danger could be ignored? Don't you know that red represents the forbidden zone of life? You will definitely die if you go in. It's not easy to be reborn, it's not easy to live again, and you're just going to die like this? What about the free and unfettered life? What about the freedom? Don't go. No, I must go. Otherwise, I can't pass this hurdle in my heart. Two voices sounded in Sun Hao's mind. At this moment, he was extremely tangled. Rumeng, what realm are you now? Sun Hao asked. Young master, I have reached the 5th stage of Ascendant Realm. Huang Rumeng said. 5th stage of Ascendant Realm? It sounded very powerful. In this western region, how many people can beat you? Sun Hao said. Among human cultivators, I should be the first person. Huang Rumeng said. What? The first person? That's invincible? What else was there to be afraid of? With Rumeng by his side to protect him, he could walk sideways in the western region. Rumeng, let me go with you, Sun Hao said. When Huang Rumeng heard this, her expression stagnated. Young master, it's very dangerous inside. Rumeng, aren't you here? With you protecting me, isn't it okay? Sun Hao said. But the expression on Huang Rumeng's face changed indefinitely. This time, with the young master's strength, there was no big problem. However, if the young master's Tao heart was damaged, I will never forgive myself. No buts, Rumeng, if you leave me alone at home, I'm afraid I won't be able to sleep and eat in peace. Isn't it just right to go with you to see the old ancestor? Sun Hao held Huang Rumeng's hands with an affectionate face. Huang Rumeng lowered her face and blushed. Her heart was extremely hesitant and tangled. At this moment, since the young master wants to accompany you, he naturally has his reason, you can't refuse. At this time, the voice of the Lotus Demon came. Hearing this, Huang Rumeng nodded. Young master, that's fine, you come with me, I will protect you. Okay. Sun Hao's face was full of joy. It was enough for her to say this. With the guarantee of safety, the rest was the blessing point. Rumeng, will there be cultivators in the place you are going this time? Sun Hao asked. Huang Rumeng frowned slightly, revealing a thoughtful look. Young master, the Blood Phoenix Nest is about to open, and there must be a lot of cultivators going there. Hearing this, Sun Hao's eyes sparkled. A lot of cultivators? Wouldn't that mean that he could give a lot of things and reap a lot of blessing points? This was an earth-shattering opportunity. It was very likely that this time, he would reap a lot of blessing points, obtain a supreme physique, and open the path of cultivation. Rumeng, come with me. Okay, young master. Immediately afterward, Sun Hao came to the carving room with Huang Rumeng and pointed to the statues. Rumeng, help me collect all these and bring them together. Okay. With a wave of her right hand, Huang Rumeng put hundreds of statues into the space ring. Then, she followed Sun Hao to the blacksmith room. Put all these things away. Sun Hao said. Okay, young master. After speaking, Huang Rumeng waved her right hand again, putting away all the hoes, rakes, kitchen knives, and so on. In this way, Sun Hao took Huang Rumeng to every room and collected everything that could be collected. The last room was the study room. Sun Hao rolled up all the paintings and put them away. Hey, there are only a few dozen paintings, I don't know if it's enough? Sun Hao sighed secretly, looked at Huang Rumeng and asked, Rumeng, when will we set off? In a few days, it hasn't opened yet. Huang Rumeng said. Okay, in the next few days, I'm going to paint more. Rumeng, if you feel bored, then go practice the zither. Sun Hao said. Young master, watching you paint is a complete enjoyment. How can it be boring? Besides, I want to help you grind ink. Huang Rumeng said. That's good. Spreading the rice paper, Sun Hao stood in front of it and took a deep breath. After Huang Rumeng ground the ink, he picked up the brush and moved quickly. Chapter 76. The Forbidden Death Zone was a barren desert that stretched as far as the eye could see. Inside, there were jagged rocks and storms everywhere. From time to time, the sound of tremors could be heard. On this day, dozens of rays of light flew over and stood outside the forbidden zone of death. These people were all cultivators. They looked into the forbidden zone of death, and their pupils shrank. It feels extremely dangerous inside. Are we really going in? As a cultivator, you're actually afraid of danger. That's right. I've never seen such a cowardly immortal cultivator. What a shame. Soon, someone took the lead and rushed inside. The others followed closely behind without any hesitation. Even the cultivator who was afraid of the forbidden zone of death, after secretly sighing, also rushed in. Scenes like this played out all around the forbidden death zone. Most of those who were able to embark on the path of cultivators were no longer afraid of death. After half a day, 3 streaks of light flew over from the east of the forbidden death zone. They were Luo Luyen, Mu Bing, and Wenrenshi. They stood high in the sky and looked into the forbidden death zone, frowning slightly. Are you ready? Wenrenshi looked at Luo Luyen and asked. Dean, we are well prepared this time. Even if we are trapped inside, we should be able to support it for 30 to 50 years. Luo Luyen said. This is very good, the 2 of us prepared can also support for decades. Wenrenshi said. This time, we must get the soul-calming pearl and destroy the blood phoenix. Luo Luyen said. Alright, let's go in. The 3 of them turned into streaks of light and rushed into the forbidden zone of death. After entering, the 3 of them landed on the ground and carefully walked forward. The phoenix smoke was as red as blood. It enveloped the surroundings and blocked their line of sight. At most, he could only see 200 meters in front of him. Luo Luyen released her spiritual awareness and swept forward. However, just as she released it, she hurriedly retracted it, a trace of fear appearing on her face. This phoenix smoke can really block spiritual awareness. Everyone, don't use spiritual awareness. Luo Luyen said. Wenrenshi nodded. The 3 of them carefully walked forward. The surroundings were very quiet, not even the chirping of insects. Everyone could clearly hear the sound of their heartbeat. Dong dong. The rhythm was sometimes fast and sometimes slow, completely out of control. Phoenix smoke shrouded the area. The rocks were like monsters, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, as if they were about to pounce over. The atmosphere was oppressive. His anger grew, and he couldn't help but feel agitated. This phoenix smoke can affect the mind. Quickly use the shield. Wenrenshi said. And the 3 of them immediately used their strength to form a shield around themselves. Sizzle, the friction between the phoenix smoke and the shield produced sizzling sounds. The energy within their bodies was rapidly draining away. If this goes on, we can only hold on for 5 years at most. We have to speed up. Okay, let's quickly find the entrance and enter the blood phoenix nest. The 3 of them strode forward and dashed forward. Ding! The sound of metal colliding rang out continuously. A 5-meter-tall lion-like monster with rock-like skin was fighting a group of immortal cultivators. The monster's skin seemed to be made of metal. When the weapons in the hands of the immortal cultivators hit it, they could only leave shallow scratches. Corpses and bones littered the ground beneath the monster's feet. Every corpse belonged to a number of cultivators. Their bodies were deformed, and it was a tragic sight to behold. There were even some who were stomped into pulp by the monsters. The air was filled with the strong smell of blood. 3 pairs of eyes peeked out from behind a boulder. When they saw the scene in front of them, their pupils constricted and their faces showed traces of fear. "That's a lion rock beast," one Rinshur exclaimed out loud. "Lion rock beast? What is that?" Luo Luyen asked. "Dean, is this scary?" Mu Bing asked. "More than scary. Lion rock beast is a kind of monster beast. And monster beasts are originally a kind of monster beast, but their spiritual wisdom has not been opened, they can't transform, and they have always maintained their wild nature. When they see a different species, they will only instinctively kill them. Their physical body and defense are extremely strong, and ordinary cultivators are not their opponents at all. This lion rock beast, I'm afraid its strength has reached the Mahayana realm. Even a crossing calamity realm cultivator is not its opponent," one Rinshur said. Hearing this, Luo Luyen and Mu Bing showed a trace of fear on their faces. "They want to deal with the lion rock beast, they are completely courting death," one Rinshur said. "Dean, should we make a move?" Mu Bing asked. "No. We need to preserve our strength and complete the young master's task. This is the most important thing. Yes, let's just watch." Several people hid behind the rocks and continued to watch. Roar, the lion rock beast roared, raised its claws, and slapped at a cultivator who was rushing over. "I block." The cultivator arrived first, and the long sword aimed at the lion rock beast's claws and stabbed it. Boom! A sound rang out. The long sword in the cultivator's hand directly broke into pieces and splashed around. No. This cry just sounded, and then it stopped abruptly. The speed of the claws did not decrease, and it directly hit the cultivator's chest. Kacha! His chest sunk directly. The claws took the cultivator's body and blasted it to the ground. In an instant, this person turned into a meat sauce, and he couldn't be more dead. The miserable appearance made people unable to look directly at it. The cultivators around did not retreat because of the dead person. On the contrary, they rushed forward even more desperately. "Destroy it, and you can get a lion rock heart. Whoever can kill it, when the time comes to sell it, give him half." Not far away, a big and strong man commanded a group of men. With this shout, the crowd of cultivators rushed forward without any regard for their lives. Kacha! Boom! Poof! The immortal cultivators continued to fall. After a moment, "A bunch of trash, watch me!" The strong man snorted coldly, took out a giant hammer, and pounced straight at the lion rock beast. The corners of his mouth raised slightly. Finally, it's almost exhausted. Roar, the lion rock beast stretched out its claws and aimed at the giant hammer in the strong man's hand. Boom! With a loud noise, the giant hammer did not collapse into powder, but smashed the lion rock beast away. The lion rock beast fell heavily to the ground, smashing a piece of rock. It was about to struggle to stand up, but it saw the strong man falling from the sky and fiercely hit the lion rock beast's head. Boom! The lion rock beast's head roared, and it struggled several times, but could not stand up. In the end, its head tilted, and there was no movement. "Sect leader is amazing! Sect leader is mighty!" the group of men shouted loudly. Hearing this, the strong man raised his head slightly, arrogance and pride were written all over his face. At this time, "Get out of the way, get out of the way!" a rude voice sounded. More than a dozen bald men quickly surrounded. Every single one of them had a body full of muscles. They wore fiery red robes, and there was a flame mark on their eyebrows. It looked like they were from the same sect. "You dare to stare at me? What if I stare at you?" "What?" After that, the bald man raised his hand and punched. Boom! With a loud bang, the cultivator was blasted away by a punch, bouncing several times on the ground before stopping. Poof! A mouthful of blood gushed out. One punch seriously injured him. When the other cultivators saw this scene, their faces changed slightly. They retreated one after another. This group of bald men directly surrounded the corpse of the lion rock beast, looking coldly at the strong man with the giant hammer. Chapter 77. The Mark of the Red Refining Sect. They are from the Red Refining Sect. What? The people of the northern region are all here? The 6-class sects are so arrogant. Many cultivators discussed in low voices, not daring to look at those bald heads. Hearing the sound of fighting, more and more cultivators watched. The strong man with the giant hammer looked at these bald heads with an unwilling expression. He sacrificed dozens of brothers to kill the lion rock beast, seeing that he was about to open its stomach and take out the lion rock heart. Now, the people of the Red Refining Sect actually came. Damn it! He was unwilling to give it to them directly. The lion rock heart was no less than a top-grade spirit stone. He might not be able to obtain a top-grade spirit stone even if he worked hard for decades. Let's fight. What do you want? The strong man raised his giant hammer and pointed at the bald heads in front of him, shouting angrily. Go! The bald heads did not waste any time and pounced straight at the strong man. The strong man raised his hammer, aimed at a bald head, and smashed it hard. Buzz, as if hitting an ancient bell, there was a roar. The bald head's body flew backward and crashed into a rock. Then, the bald head immediately stood up, shook his head, gritted his teeth, and pounced at the strong man like a wild beast. Such a scene was seen by the crowd of cultivators, and their expressions changed drastically. The Red Refining Sect is indeed strong. This physical defense is probably not much worse than the lion rock beast. It's too terrifying. Fortunately, I didn't clash with them. Next to the lion rock beast, more than a dozen bald heads were like fierce tigers, pouncing on the strong man without a care for their lives. At first, the strong man could still deal with it. In the end, he was quickly defeated. The strong man's body was covered with bruises. Boom! He fell straight down like a cannonball and landed in the distance. He struggled to stand up, looked at the group of bald heads, and quickly left without looking back. His subordinates quickly followed behind him. The group of bald heads completely ignored these. They came to the side of the lion rock beast, picked up their long sabers, and cut open its stomach. However, the skin of the lion rock beast was as hard as iron and extremely difficult to break. It took a lot of strength to break open a hole. It took them a full hour to take out a fist-sized red crystal that looked like a heart from the stomach of the lion rock beast. As soon as this thing appeared, it instantly attracted hundreds of greedy eyes. Lion heart. This is definitely a top-grade spirit stone. This thing is even easier to absorb than supreme-grade spirit stones. The leader of the Baldies carefully kept the lion rock heart. Then, they strode away at top speed. Luo Luyen and the others watched this scene without any ripples on their faces. Following beside the young master, her horizons had been completely broadened. This kind of vulgar thing could not arouse their interest at all. Let's go, too, try to hide in the dark and save our strength, Luo Luyen said. All right. Then, the three of them quickly ran forward. Under the cover of the phoenix smoke, no one noticed them. West of the forbidden land of death. Phew, a figure dressed in light green muslin was flying. She was a woman with a determined look on her beautiful face. She was the daughter of the head of the Xianyuan clan, Xianyuan Shi. Father, once I obtain the Blood Phoenix's demon core, I'll definitely be able to help you break through. At that time, you won't have to listen to those elders anymore. Xianyuan Shi murmured and ran forward quickly. Suddenly, she stopped and looked at the blue boulder not far away, frowning slightly. Rumble, the sound of boulders rubbing against each other sounded. Xianyuan Shi's scalp went numb and she retreated again and again. She hid behind a rock and watched from a distance. Phew, at this time, several figures flew in the phoenix smoke. Brothers, hurry up, We are about to reach the central area. Once we find the entrance and enter the Blood Phoenix nest, it is possible to get the Blood Phoenix's demon core. More than that, there is also the Devouring Heaven demonic technique. With that technique in hand, the world will belong to us. Hey, what's that? Several figures looked at the blue boulder in the distance, turned into long rainbows, and hurried away, standing on the blue boulder. Rumble, it sounded like thunder. Several people's scalps went numb and soared into the sky. Whoosh, several whistling sounds exploded in their ears. Blue tentacles instantly penetrated the chests of several people and tied them up like dumplings. Then, they pulled back the blue boulder. Rumble. The blue boulder opened a big mouth and swallowed several people into it. Rumble, the sound of stones rubbing against each other kept ringing. After a while, it returned to calm. Even when they died, none of them let out a scream. Xianyuan sure looked at this scene, and her pretty face showed an expression of lingering fear. It turned out to be the giant ice rock beast. I am afraid that even a 7th stage Ascendant Realm powerhouse is not its opponent. This forbidden death zone is really terrifying, we must be careful. After speaking, Xianyuan sure changed direction and ran away quickly. One day later, it was extremely quiet around the giant ice rock beast. Most of the cultivators had entered the hinterland. On this day, 2 figures came quickly from a distance. The one walking in front was Sun Hao. He looked around, and the corners of his mouth raised slightly. It was said that this forbidden death zone was extremely dangerous. When cultivators enter it, they can't get out. However, that was for the weak. There was a master-like rumming by his side. After walking for a day, not to mention encountering danger, they didn't even see a monster. It seemed that after sensing Rumming's aura, they were all scared away and didn't dare to approach at all. Since Rumming is so strong, we don't have to stay at home all the time in the future. We have to go out more. Sun Hao looked at Huang Rumming and nodded secretly. Then, he took Huang Rumming's little hand and led her forward. Suddenly, Huang Rumming stopped, looked ahead, and frowned slightly. "Young master, you stand here and rest for a while," Huang Rumming said. "Is there a monster?" Sun Hao asked. It's a giant ice rock beast. I'll be right back." After speaking, Huang Rumming's figure fluttered and left quickly. "Monster." Sun Hao looked at Huang Rumming's figure and looked around. Rumble, a deafening sound rang out. He saw that a blue boulder stood up completely. 3 thick legs, like 3 pillars supporting the sky, were lying across the sky. On the legs there was a huge blue round stone. It looked extremely strange. "Isn't this kind of monster too strange?" Sun Hao stared blankly, his face full of surprise. Huang Rumming flew in front of the giant ice rock beast and looked at it calmly. Whoosh! Suddenly, dozens of sounds of breaking through the air sounded. Tentacles flew out of the giant ice rock beast's body and went straight to Huang Rumming. Above the tentacles, there was the power of extreme cold. The surrounding temperature dropped rapidly. When Huang Rumming saw this scene, her face did not change. She stretched out her right hand unhurriedly and waved it forward. It seemed to only waved once, but her strength waved countless times. Thousands of handprints merged together and blasted at the giant ice rock beast. Boom! A very light sound sounded, and the tentacles were cracking rapidly. Roar! The giant ice rock beast let out a shrill roar, shaking the whole world, and it was buzzing and trembling. Sun Hao saw this scene and broke into a cold sweat. Fortunately, he was far enough away. It was really terrifying inside. "Die!" Huang Rumming shouted softly, and the Nirvana handprint pressed on the giant ice rock beast. Kacha! The sound of stone cracking sounded. On the giant ice rock beast's body, cobweb-like cracks spread all over its body. Boom! An explosion. The giant ice rock beast directly burst apart and exploded into powder. Sun Hao looked at this scene in a daze, his face full of shock. She killed it with a slap? Such a terrifying monster couldn't bear a slap from Huang Ruming? Huang Ruming's strength could not be imagined at all. Then what else did he have to worry about? Book Pavilion, thinking so, the corner of Sun Hao's mouth rose, and his whole person was extremely relaxed. Chapter 78. Time flew by, and 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. Middle level of the forbidden land of death. They saw a 10-meter-high teleportation portal lying there. Light blue light penetrated the phoenix smoke and scattered around. Like a lighthouse in the dark, it attracted everyone's attention. Thousands of figures stood around the teleportation portal. These people were all cultivators. To be able to come here, they were either strong or scheming. They all stood 100 meters away, observing secretly, and no one moved first. This teleportation portal must lead to the Blood Phoenix nest. What are you still doing? Charge. Charge your head, if you have the guts, you charge first. Those who were afraid of chaos stood there awkwardly. These big shots were not easy to fool. Behind a boulder in the distance, Luo Luyen and the other two hid there, watching from a distance. Dean, are we not going in? Mu Bing asked. No. Wen Rensher smiled slightly. Where does this teleportation portal lead to? Is there any danger? I don't know at all. I'm afraid it's not appropriate for us to rush in rashly. Wen Rensher said. Dean, they are not moving. Mu Bing asked. Don't worry, the medicinal pills in our hands can last for at least a year. They are definitely more anxious than us. Let's look at the situation first. Wen Rensher said. Okay. The two women nodded together and did not object. The three poked out a few eyes and watched from a distance. Dong, time slipped away unconsciously with the sound of heartbeats. Every second, the tense atmosphere became more intense. More and more cultivators came to this place. But no one rushed to the teleportation portal. No one wanted to be the first bird to stand out. Somewhere in the Blood Phoenix nest, two phantoms stood together, looking at the screen in front of them with a smile on their faces. On the screen, it was the teleportation portal on the east side of the Forbidden Land. They are not moving, they have some brains. So what if they have some brains? Unless they swallow the heart blood of the giant rock beast, otherwise, how can they enter the second extreme formation? It seems that the human race has really declined. It seems that no one meets the Master's requirements. No, look at that little guy, he has the aura of the giant rock beast. So, he killed the giant rock beast? Interesting. The two figures looked at an ordinary-looking man in the crowd and nodded slightly. Sigh, but his talent is still a little weak. He's not qualified to receive Master's inheritance. Yeah. The Blood Phoenix could no longer be suppressed. I really want to go easy and let him pass, but the rules don't allow it. The two phantoms discussed for a while, their faces filled with disappointment. In 100 years at most, the Blood Phoenix will definitely escape. At that time, it will be another disaster for the human race. As the guardians of the two poles, our strength is almost exhausted. I really hope that the human race will produce a monster and obtain Master's inheritance. Why don't we look again? All right. After saying that, the eyes of the two phantoms emitted a pale gray light. Two pairs of eyes seemed to penetrate thousands of miles, sweeping around the teleportation portal in the east. Suddenly, a figure's eyes flickered as he exclaimed, "What did you find?" "Look, the three little fellows hiding behind the rock." After a while, "What? I can't see through him. His body is shrouded by a mysterious force. This mysterious power isn't any weaker than Master's. Since when did the human clan have such an expert? However, these little fellows are terrifyingly talented. They have encountered a shocking good fortune. When they get Master's inheritance, we will ask them again." "Good. In that case, let's increase the difficulty for them." "Increase the difficulty? Then, do you still want to give out Master's inheritance? Is this what Master requested? For evildoers, we must use the evildoer level test." "Well, Let's see if they can enter the blood phoenix nest first. Luo Luyen and the other two didn't know about this. At this moment, they were staring at the teleportation portal motionlessly. At this time, nearly 100 figures arrived quickly. These people were all dressed in the same clothes. The leader was dressed in red gauze and had bright red rouge on her mouth, looking very coquettish. The appearance of this group of people immediately caused a lot of shock. Who are they? You don't even know them? Look at their clothes, they are all embroidered with the Fong family emblem. They must be from the Fong family in the Northern Territory. What, the Fong family is here too? That's a third-class force. With them here, what do we have to do with them? In the eyes of a group of cultivators, the third-class force was a heavenly existence. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the woman with the red gauze. That's Fong Xiaoxiao, the famous genius of the Fong family. It is said that she is the 10th sequence of the Fong family. What the hell? Such a genius has come. Rumor has it that Fong Xiaoxiao has crossed the 9-color thunder tribulation and reached the ascendant realm. It seems that the Fong family is determined to get the treasures of the blood phoenix nest. Thousands of rays of light swept over Fong Xiaoxiao. At this moment, she became the focus of everyone. The corners of Fong Xiaoxiao's mouth rose, inadvertently showing a touch of arrogance. A seductive aura emanated from her body. Miss, I'm afraid this is the teleportation portal to the blood phoenix nest. Do you want me to send someone to try it? A man stood in front of Fong Xiaoxiao and saluted respectfully. No. Fong Xiaoxiao waved her hand, and the corners of her mouth were full of charm. She glanced at the group of cultivators and said, "This little girl has something that needs the help of the 10 brothers. Of course, it's not free. As long as you are willing to help this little girl, everyone will be rewarded with a piece of high-grade spirit source." Fong Xiaoxiao said. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. What? High-grade spirit source. This is equivalent to 100 high-grade spirit pills. The Fong family is worthy of being the #1 force in the northern region. They are really rich. Many cultivators showed a look of greed on their faces. However, there was no one rushing over to him. In the crowd, a cultivator walked out and said, "Miss Fong, please tell me what's the matter first." "It's very simple, rush into the teleportation array." Fong Xiaoxiao waved her right hand, and 10 crystals shining with purple light appeared in front of everyone. "The first one to rush to my side, this spirit source is yours." Just as she finished speaking, whoosh, hundreds of figures rushed over quickly. That appearance was like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey. Fong Xiaoxiao waved her right hand, and a stream of air generated from her hand, sending all the cultivators behind back. Only the first 10 people who rushed over were left. "Take it," Fong Xiaoxiao said. "Thank you, Miss Fong." The 10 cultivators picked up the spirit source. "Go, you all rush in together, whether you live or die, it depends on your luck," Fong Xiaoxiao said lightly. "Yes, Miss Fong." After saying that, the 10 people's faces showed a fierce look, and without thinking, they rushed towards the teleportation array. Just as they touched the teleportation array, a dazzling blue light lit up. Above the teleportation array, layers of ripples shook the 10 people directly. Boom, the 10 people fell heavily, and their faces were covered with dust. Fortunately, they were only slightly injured. "What? I can't get in. What's going on? Is this teleportation array fake? If so, why is it standing here?" A group of cultivators looked at this scene in a daze, their faces full of disbelief. Chapter 79. After thousands of trials, no one could enter the portal. Just when everyone was desperate. "Let me try." At this time, an ordinary-looking man stood up. Seeing this person, many cultivators frowned. "What? He can get in? Who is he? I don't think I've seen him before. He calls himself Tu Tiangun. He's very strong." Everyone looked at the man, their eyes motionless. They saw the the man turned into an afterimage and rushed into the portal. Immediately, buzz! The blue light on the portal shone brightly and wrapped him up at once. Waiting for people to react, the man had disappeared in place. What? He went in. Did he find the right place? It's very possible that he must have found the right place to enter so smoothly. The faces of the cultivators were full of shock. Since he can find the right place, I don't believe I can find the wrong place. A cultivator hurriedly rushed over and crashed into the portal. Boom! Without any suspense, he was knocked tens of meters away and fell heavily to the ground. It seems that it has nothing to do with the position. It must be the wrong posture, then let me try. After speaking, a cultivator stood upside down, his hands were used as feet, and his hands were as fast as flying. Boom! The strength was strong enough, and he was also hit in the head. The following experiments, without exception, all ended in failure. Why can that 2 Tian gun go in? Mu Bing said. Could it be? Suddenly, Luo Luyan seemed to think of something. What is it? Wen Renshi and Mu Bing asked together. Didn't he kill a giant rock beast and then swallow the heart blood of the giant rock beast? Could it be related to the heart blood of the giant rock beast? Then what are you waiting for? Let's go. After speaking, the three figures quickly went away. Miss, only 2 Tiangun can enter. A man said. I understand, but I finally see hope. Fang Xiaoxiao raised the corner of her mouth slightly and said, Everyone, who knows about 2 Tiangun, talk to me in detail. If you answer well, 10 pieces of high-grade spirit source are yours. Miss Fang, I know something. At this time, a few men came quickly. After a moment. What? Does that mean I can enter as long as I swallow a drop of the giant rock beast's heart blood? Then what are we waiting for? Let's go find the giant rock beast. That's a stage 7 Ascendant Realm savage beast. If you don't want to die, team up. Somewhere in the Blood Phoenix nest. The two phantoms looked at this scene with different expressions. Why did this child tell others about the conditions to enter? Isn't it better for her to go in with her clansmen? Do you think she's stupid? Wrong. She is extremely scheming. She knows that the Blood Phoenix nest is extremely dangerous. In her opinion, other people are just cannon fodder. This person isn't bad either. He has some potential. Don't talk about my side, look at yours. My side is the gate of death. If you enter it, you'll definitely die. It's better not to look. The extremity of death is life. Master created these two ultimate formations. Regardless of whether it is the gate of life or the gate of death, there is life. Alright. The two of them stared directly at the western passage of the Blood Phoenix nest. Weak, too weak. What a bunch of weaklings. That's not right. So many people have entered the death gate? What's the point? Won't they die in the end? That little guy is good. I don't know if she can survive. It's difficult. We don't dare to approach that old monster Blood Phoenix. There's no way for her to survive. I don't know how they got in. It stands to reason that with their current strength, they can't kill the giant ice rock beast. How many giant ice rock beasts are left outside? Let's see. After a while, the two phantoms retracted their gazes. Shock was written all over their faces. What? The giant ice rock beast is dead. Fuck! One of the phantoms couldn't help but curse. They were all killed, and they were all slapped to death. Who the hell is it? Are they here to destroy it? After killing it, they didn't even want the ice rock core. No wonder so many people came in. It turns out that they picked up the ice rock core. Then let's see who killed it? Okay. The eyes of the two phantoms bloomed and swept directly toward the western portal. After a while, boom. It was as if thunder had struck their heads. The phantoms were erratic, and they seemed to be dissipating. They opened their mouths wide, their eyes were dull, and shock was written all over their faces. Their voices trembled, and they didn't say a complete sentence for a long time. That expression was as if they saw the most terrifying monster in the world. Who is he? Why did he come here? It seems that it is a supreme existence. He came here. What should we do? He seems to be going to the death gate. With his strength, I'm afraid that he can break the death gate with one finger. At that time, the blood phoenix will definitely escape. Hurry up and undo the restriction. Let the supreme existence go in. If it's late, it will be too late. Undo the restriction, we will die. Don't tremble, it will be too late. The two phantoms began to operate. West side of the death forbidden zone. Sun Hao and Huang Rumming held hands and walked forward. With Huang Rumming by his side, there was no fear on Sun Hao's face. Along the way, they encountered many giant ice rock beasts, and they were all slapped to death by Huang Rumming. With such powerful strength, what else couldn't she deal with here? That is? Sun Hao pointed ahead and frowned slightly. He saw that a few hundred meters away, there was a teleportation portal lying on the ground. This teleportation portal was blood-red, which was different from the Eastern teleportation portal. From a distance, it looked like a blood demon's eye. Following the direction of Sun Hao's finger, Huang Rumming narrowed her eyes and looked intently. "Young master, that is a teleportation portal," Huang Rumming said. "Teleportation portal?" Sun Hao frowned slightly. Teleportation portal, he had seen a lot. However, he had seen them all in the game in his previous life. It could be said that there were all kinds of them, all types, everything. "Rumming, let's go and take a look." "Yes, young master." The two quickly walked toward the teleportation portal. Behind some boulders around the teleportation portal, there were many cultivators hiding. They stared at the teleportation portal, careful and alert. "We are really unlucky we didn't pick up the ice rock core. If this goes on, we will definitely die. We can only pray that someone enters inside, can get the inheritance, and break the sky formation. We'll be able to escape. Don't count on others, it's still up to ourselves. Grab the ice rock core first." At this time, buzz! On the teleportation portal, the red light was so dazzling that people couldn't look directly at it. What's wrong with this? Run. It's not going to explode, is it? Let's hide away. A group of cultivators flew back, keeping a distance from the teleportation portal. The outermost layer of the teleportation portal, the blood-red barrier, peeled down at a speed visible to the naked eye. "Someone is coming." A cry of alarm sounded. Everyone squinted their eyes and saw Sun Hao and Huang Rumming walking toward the teleportation portal. Chapter 80. They don't have the power of the giant ice rock beast. What do they want to do? Do they want to go in like this? Really, two hotheads, they want to go in without swallowing the blood of the giant ice rock beast. That's right. A group of playful eyes stared at the two of them. The next second, all the cultivators widened their eyes in disbelief. What? They went in? No resistance at all? Isn't this too smooth? They stared at the portal in a daze, and for a while, they didn't come back to their senses. Quick, don't just stand there, it should be because that layer of restriction disappeared just now, so they went in. Then what are you waiting for, charge? A group of cultivators used their own means and rushed toward the portal. Seeing that they were about to rush into the portal, at this time, buzz! The terrifying restriction recovered in the blink of an eye, blocking everyone outside. Boom! A group of cultivators, like fairies scattering flowers, were knocked away by the force of the shock. They struggled to get up and looked at the portal with a face of unwillingness. Damn it, we almost went in. Our luck is really bad. This damn teleportation array seems to have a consciousness deliberately blocking us. Don't say it, don't you understand yet? The portal is a dog. According to you, the teleportation array just disappeared to let those two people in? How could he lick a mortal? Mortal? Do you think that's a mortal? That's because you can't see through it at all. So, that person is not a mortal. More than that, I'm afraid that person is an existence that even the teleportation array is afraid of. After saying this, hiss, the sound of gasping came one after another. Somewhere in the blood phoenix nest, the two phantoms stood in place, showing a look of fear. It's too dangerous, too dangerous. I almost didn't open the restriction. Yeah, it really scared me to death. What is such a supreme existence doing here? Is he here to save the blood phoenix? I hope not, otherwise, if such an existence is evil, it will be a disaster for the whole world. The two phantoms muttered to themselves, their faces full of bitterness. Sun Hao naturally didn't know about this. At this moment, he and Huang Rumming had already appeared in a cave. On one side of the cave was a rock wall, and on the other side was a tunnel. The passageway was scarlet red, and the heat waves kept blowing on him. Standing here, Sun Hao closed his eyes, showing an expression of enjoyment. It's really warm in here. Hearing this, Huang Ruming's expression changed slightly. Is this warmth? It was obviously incomparably hot. He felt like he was in a steamer. Even with the protection of the celestial clothes, beads of sweat still rolled down. Huang Rumming had no choice but to use the power of her dantian to form a shield that covered her entire body. Only then did she feel much better. Rumming, hurry up, it's very comfortable inside. Sun Hao looked back at Huang Rumming and shouted. Yes, young master. Huang Rumming secretly wiped her sweat and looked at Sun Hao with admiration. The young master is really amazing. Rumming, bring me along wherever you go in the future. Anyway, with your protection, I am relieved. Sun Hao said. Yes, young master. Huang Rumming said. Soon I can also cultivate. At that time, it will be my turn to protect you. Sun Hao said. And Huang Rumming nodded heavily, her eyes flashing. Their fingers were tightly intertwined. The passage seemed to have no end, and the two didn't know how long they walked. The temperature of the passage had reached 1,000 degrees, like a boiling steel furnace. Huang Ruming's physical strength was consumed rapidly. In this way, it would be consumed in less than half a day. However, there were a lot of immortal fruits and spirit fruits in the space ring, enough to replenish. This time, she was fully prepared. Thinking of this, Huang Rumming relaxed. Suddenly, Kacha, a sound rang out. This sudden sound startled Sun Hao. Looking down, a human-shaped skull under his feet was trampled into pieces. Damn, dead man's skull. Sun Hao secretly cursed, his heart nervous. Although he had seen enough horror blockbusters in his previous life, seeing it with his own eyes at this moment, he was still a little scared. This kind of place, although comfortable, was very dangerous. The skull under his feet must be that of a cultivator. However, with Rumming by his side, what was there to be afraid of? Sun Hao grabbed Huang Ruming's slender jade hand, and his whole person felt at ease. On the road, there were more and more skeletons, covering the entire passage. Kacha, as if stepping on snow, the sound was continuous. These skeletons strongly stimulated Sun Hao's nerve. His heart beat violently. Stop! Such a sudden sound directly startled Sun Hao. Immediately afterward, several cultivators surrounded Sun Hao and Huang Rumming. Cultivator? Seeing these people, Sun Hao's eyes gleamed. There are really cultivators. I don't know if they like painting scrolls? Thinking like this, Sun Hao took out a painting scroll from his arms that had been prepared for a long time. He was about to hand it over. Boom! One of the men slapped the painting scroll to the ground. It was a shocking good fortune. With one hand, it became Shurahel. Until death, this man would not understand. Want to send us away with a broken painting? Be honest, hand over all the spirit stones and medicinal pills on your body. What are you looking at, and you? Stinky woman, ugly, right? You still have to cover your face. Do you think we are afraid of you? Dare to stare at us like this? The immortal cultivators shouted loudly with great power. Dare to touch the young master, die. In a simple sentence, several people were sentenced to death. Huang Rumming stretched out her right hand. A few wisps of electric light flickered on the tip of Huang Ruming's hand. It didn't seem to have any power. The electric light flew out quickly. It jumped on the bodies of these immortal cultivators. They fell to the ground, holding their heads, screaming again and again. Their bodies were completely enveloped by the electric light. After a breath, the screams stopped. When the electric light dissipated, these cultivators were scorched black. Boom! Finally, one by one, they burst open, turned into dust, and disappeared on the spot. Sun Hao stared at this scene blankly, full of surprise. Killing people invisible, one finger can do it. This strength, this method is incredible. Huang Ruming is powerful. Sun Hao secretly clenched his fists, looking at Huang Ruming, his eyes flashing. Ruming, one day I will surpass you. Young master, you look at me like this, is it wrong for Ruming? Huang Ruming's face was full of worry. Of course not. Ruming, you are so powerful. Sun Hao said. Young master, you flatter me. Huang Ruming said with a smile. She looked at Sun Hao, her face full of worship. Young master, if I have 1,000 or 2,000 of you, in this world, I am afraid that few people are my opponents. Young master, don't worry, I will work hard to cultivate. Strive to be able to follow you forever and not drag you down. This time, after we go out, we will travel the world, what do you think? Sun Hao said. Everything is at the young master's command. Huang Ruming said. Don't, you have to have your own ideas. Young master, my idea is to listen to everything you say. Huang Ruming said. Sun Hao sighed secretly. This world is a patriarchal world. Women are just vassals. The problem is that women still think like this and take everything for granted. It is so difficult to change them. Chapter 81. In a passage on the east side of the Blood Phoenix nest. This passageway was blue in color. Inside there was a dense chill and it was ice cold. The cold that froze to the bone directly penetrated the spiritual shield and drilled into the body. It's so cold. At first glance, this passage was full of cultivators. These cultivators' teeth were chattering, and their bodies were shivering. Frost formed on their hair and eyebrows. There is no end at all, and it's getting colder and colder. I'm afraid we will freeze to death before we reach the end. Yes, fortunately, there are no monsters on the way, otherwise we will be miserable. My eyebrows are twitching. I think it's better to go back. Go back? Do you think the Blood Phoenix nest belongs to your family? You can come and go as you please? Now, there is only one result, either die here or get the treasure and leave here. Behind the crowd, Fang Xiaoxiao led dozens of people and followed slowly. Suddenly, squeak, a strange cry sounded. These sounds hit the soul directly, making people's scalp tingle. Not good, ice crystal centipedes. A cry of alarm sounded like a thunderclap in their minds. Many cultivators' faces were full of panic. They saw that in front of the cave, transparent centipedes covered the entire passage. Each centipede was as thick as an arm, and a blue light surged forward from its tail and gathered on its head. After a few breaths, the blue light was so bright that people couldn't look directly at it. Run, run, they are going to attack! A loud roar sounded throughout the passage. One by one, the cultivator's scalp tingled, turned around, and ran back. It was just that, there was no time. All the ice crystal centipedes opened their mouth. Swish, the cold air, like blue ice silk, made a burst of sound and shot toward the crowd. No, no. The sound of panic continued to ring. The ice silk hit the body and the shield shattered. Endless chill enveloped the whole body. The whole person was directly frozen into an ice sculpture. Their frightened appearance became eternal at this moment. In the blink of an eye, dozens of ice sculptures were lying in the passage. Immediately afterward, bang bang, the sound of explosions continued to ring. The ice sculptures exploded one by one. Flesh and blood fragments and ice cubes covered the entire passage. Such a scene strongly stimulated the nerves of the surviving cultivators. Their bodies trembled violently and their teeth chattered. Don't just stand there. Attack together when they're accumulating power. Otherwise, we'll all die together. At this moment, a bald man stepped forward. He was from the Red Refining sect. He brought dozens of bald men and charged towards the ice crystal centipede. He pressed down on an ice crystal centipede, stretched out his right hand, and punched it. Bang! There was an explosion. The ice crystal centipede exploded. This group of baldies was very strong. They could kill the ice crystal centipede with just their physical strength. It's them, the people of the Red Refining sect. Since they're taking the lead, let's attack together. Kill! The rest of the cultivators also rushed over one by one. Miss, do we need help? Help! On Fang Xiaoxiao's face, the corners of her mouth rose. Help my ass, preserving our strength is the most important. You guys just need to do something, don't do your best. Fang Xiaoxiao said. Yes, miss. Behind this group of cultivators, the three transparent figures slowly moved forward. Every step was careful, and they did not dare to make any sound. Dean, your clothes are really useful, even Fang Xiaoxiao didn't find us. This is only useful for those below the half-immortal level. I think Fang Xiaoxiao's guardian has already found us. So what? The guardian usually doesn't show up. They will only appear when they are in fatal danger. We didn't do anything to her, and the guardian won't care about this at all. That's right. Let's go, we'll keep up slowly. Okay. The three figures slowly moved forward. Boom. Buzz. Boom. In front of the passage, there were explosions from time to time. The entire passage was buzzing and trembling. On the way, they encountered the bodies of cultivators from time to time. His miserable appearance was unbearable to look at. Time flies, and a few hours passed in a blink of an eye. Look! There was an exclamation in front. When Luo Luyen and the others heard this, their eyes lit up. It seemed that they were almost at their destination. Let's go, let's follow them carefully, and we must not be exposed. Okay. The three of them sped up and moved forward. Soon after, they looked at the scene in front of them, and their faces were full of shock. They saw. They were in an incomparably huge circular space. This space was so large that it could accommodate a medium-sized city. The surrounding rock walls were neat and flat, as if someone had opened it up. On the stone wall, there were countless ancient patterns engraved. A few hundred meters away, thousands of cultivators stood on the spot and raised their heads to look ahead. Their eyes flickered with excitement. Following their gazes, Luo Luyen and the others' pupils shrank, and their faces were full of shock. They saw that in front of the group of cultivators, there was a 10-meter-high square stone platform. On the stone platform, there was a stone bead the size of a head floating. That's the soul calming pearl. There was an exclamation. This voice had just fallen. Immediately there were cultivators who moved. Dozens of cultivators, each using their own means, rushed forward. In their eyes there was a greedy light. Not good, the soul calming pearl is going to be taken away by them. Damn, I'm a step late, I regret it. The cultivators who didn't have time to move, one by one, were full of regret. Many people also tried their best, madly chasing. It seemed that they wanted to catch up first. It's just, how could it be possible? They could only watch helplessly as those cultivators pounced on the soul-suppressing orb, seeing that someone was about to succeed. At this time, buzz, there was a shock. On the soul-calming pearl, a dazzling white light lit up, illuminating the entire space. These rays of light, one by one, spread down to the platform, followed those ancient lines and spread to the ground. On the ground, the ancient formation patterns quickly lit up. An extremely cold force, centered on the soul-calming pearl, quickly spread to the surroundings. Not good, the cultivators who rushed in front, their scalps tingled. On their faces there was panic and regret. No, the shouts stopped abruptly. Their bodies were directly frozen into ice sculptures. Boom. In the next second they exploded. Until death, they didn't even let out a scream. With the soul-calming pearl as the center, all the cultivators within a kilometer radius died tragically. Around the soul-calming pearl, body fragments were everywhere. The cold air and the smell of blood quickly spread in all directions. Such a scene strongly stimulated everyone's eyes. Many immortal cultivators secretly wiped their cold sweat. Their bodies involuntarily retreated. It's too dangerous, almost, just a little bit, I will become a corpse. Fortunately, I didn't move, otherwise the end will be the same. They looked at the soul-calming pearl as if they were looking at a terrifying monster. Although the soul-calming pearl was good, it was not so easy to get. Chapter 82. Shall we make a move? Mu Bing said. Don't worry. Lu Luyen pointed to the front. Look around that platform. Mu Bing and Wen Rinshi squinted their eyes, and their pupils shrank. Around the platform, 4 men in black armor sat on the ground, leaning against the platform, like 4 guardians. Under the black armor there was a skeleton, which seemed to have been dead for a long time. Under each skeleton, there was a strange beast skeleton shaped like a wild lion. Is that Han Xing's 4 generals? It's them? It's impossible. They are all here. It is said that they are all immortals. It seems that in order to suppress the blood phoenix, the 4 generals also died here. Luo Luyen and the other 2 looked ahead, hiding in the corner, and did not move. The soul-calming pearl flickered every once in a while, activating the extreme cold array. 99% of the extreme cold air was absorbed by the great array, and no one knew where it was sent. If it wasn't for the great array's absorption and full release, a cold whistling was enough to turn everyone into ashes. Miss, what should we do? Do we keep waiting like this? A man stood in front of Fang Xiaoxiao and asked in a low voice. Are you all ready? Fang Xiaoxiao asked. Miss, I'm ready. In that case, let's do it. Fang Xiaoxiao pointed with her right hand. The dozens of men around her moved together. They rushed to the soul-calming pearl like lightning. In the process of running, they each took out a crystal ball. What? They don't want to live? No, that's the spirit-devouring pearl in their hands. What? They even have this kind of thing, as expected of the Fang family, too rich. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the dozens of men. These people, their strength has reached the ascendant realm, extremely powerful. Together, it was a force that could not be underestimated. Soon, they rushed to the front of the soul-calming pearl. Also at this time, buzz, there was a shock. The soul-calming pearl lit up with a dazzling white light. The white light sprinkled down the stage like a silk thread. Let's do it! The leading man shouted. These dozens of men, all sacrificed the spirit-devouring pearl and flew under the soul-calming pearl. The white light spilled into the spirit-devouring bead and was swallowed up. Even when the soul-suppressing orb's light went out, the spirit-devouring orb was still safe and sound. The leader's eyes lit up and he spoke again, collect. They moved in unison and kept the spirit-devouring pearls in their hands. After doing all this, the leading man did not hesitate and rushed straight for the soul-suppressing orb. However, just as he took a step forward, buzz, the spirit-devouring bead in his hand trembled violently. Before the man could react, bang, bang, the spirit-devouring beads exploded one by one. The terrifying shockwave hit the man holding the spirit-devouring pearl and blew his body into pieces, flying everywhere. The white light in the spirit-devouring orb flowed into the platform below like silk threads, and spread into the ancient formation through the formation patterns. The entire process happened in an instant. When the crowd of cultivators reacted, they only saw the scene of the man exploding into a bloody mist. They stared blankly at this scene, shock written all over their faces. Even the spirit-devouring pearl could not absorb the power of the soul-suppressing pearl, so who could get the soul-suppressing pearl? Fang Xiaoxiao stood in place, the corner of her mouth twitching slightly, and her expression was extremely ugly. She did not expect that the power of this soul-suppressing pearl would be so strong. Then who could get the soul-suppressing pearl? Now, there was no one around her that could be used. What to do? Should she do it herself? No. She would never move before she was absolutely sure. Fang Xiaoxiao stood in place, hiding in a corner, quietly waiting for the opportunity. It seems that no one will move. Are we going to wait like this? Wen Rinshi asked. Of course not. Luo Luyan shook her head slightly. Since the young master needs this soul-suppressing pearl, then we must get it. Even if we are smashed to pieces, it is also duty-bound. However, we can't sacrifice in vain. If this extreme cold power is not removed, even if you two go, I'm afraid you won't be able to get it. Therefore, we must absorb this extreme cold power. Luo Luyan said. The two people's faces showed a difficult expression. How could the extreme cold power of the ancient Great Formation be so easy to absorb? If it was not good, a little bit of the power of the Great Formation could make people smash to pieces. What to do? Luo Luyan looked at the big array in front of her and frowned. The power of extreme cold? How was he supposed to keep this thing? That's right, young master's green pine painting. The young master's green pine painting only had ice and snow left, possessing the power of extreme frost. Compared to the power of extreme cold, it was even stronger. The green pine painting that young master gave us actually had such a profound meaning. He was really stupid to only understand now. Sigh. Luo Luyan sighed heavily. Then, there was a flash of light. Fortunately, I was well prepared and brought Yiling's painting with me. Luo Luyan raised the corner of her mouth slightly and took out the green pine painting. However, the pine tree in the green pine painting had already taken root in the Jade Lake. Now, there was only ice and snow left in the painting. While the cultivators were still in a daze, a scroll suddenly appeared above their heads. What's that? It looks like a painting. Picture scroll? Could it be that someone used this painting as a magic treasure? They looked at the painting with puzzled expressions. Fang Xiaoxiao's eyes followed the movement of the scroll. When did this painting scroll appear? She didn't notice it at all. Among the cultivators, there were really crouching tigers and hidden dragons. The painting scroll flew up into the air and grew rapidly. It seemed to envelop the entire space. Buzz, at this moment, the soul-calming pearl trembled slightly. Countless white lights rushed up from the soul-calming pearl, like the Milky Way flowing backward, and all went into the painting scroll. The cultivators standing below looked up blankly, and their eyes were full of shock. This is an ordinary thing? Such a terrifying painting scroll, this is at least a supreme spiritual treasure, right? It's terrible, the power of the soul-calming pearl was swallowed by it. This painting scroll is probably an immortal treasure? What? Immortal treasure? The cultivators looked at the painting scroll in the sky, and their eyes were full of greed. Their eyes followed the painting scroll as it moved. They saw that the painting scroll shrank rapidly, and in less than a moment, it returned to its original size and disappeared in the sky. This painting scroll had just fallen into the hands of Luo Luyan. Dozens of figures rushed out quickly. These dozens of people were basically old monsters. Their speed was as fast as lightning, much stronger than the average cultivator. Among these people, there was an ordinary-looking man. This person was the first person to enter the Blood Phoenix nest, Tu Tiangun. His speed was the fastest, far ahead. What? It's him! That's Tu Tiangun, damn it, he hit it so deeply. The soul-calming pearl is going to be taken by him. Damn it, that's mine. A group of cultivators rushed forward, gnashing their teeth and roaring again and again. Chapter 83. Damn it! Fang Xiaoxiao looked at Tu Tiangun in front of her, secretly hating. Just now, she hesitated for a while, but she didn't expect that he would rush to the forefront. This ordinary-looking guy actually had such strength. This common face made people unable to distinguish for a while. Damn it, just a little slower. Fang Xiaoxiao was secretly hateful, constantly taking out acceleration talismans and releasing them on her body. Despite this, she still couldn't catch up with Tu Tiangun. She could only watch Tu Tiangun rush to the soul-calming pearl, helpless. Seeing that Tu Tiangun was about to grab the soul-calming pearl. At this time, whoosh, on the ground, the ancient great array lit up with a dazzling light. These rays of light flowed quickly, poured into the platform, and drilled into the bodies of the 4 skeletal knights. In the black-armored knight's eyes, 2 groups of blue light lit up, like a soul flame, making people dare not look directly at it. Howl! There was a howl. With 4 waves of air, it shook out. No, Tu Tianguan's body was shaken by the air wave and hit the ground heavily. Then, it was Fang Xiaoxiao. She kissed the ground intimately. Her lips were swollen, dizzy, and very comfortable. The cultivators who rushed over did not get any benefit. They were hit until they saw stars and were covered in dust. Kaka. Before everyone understood what was going on, the sound of bones rubbing sounded around the platform. Then, the 4 skeletons followed the mounts and stood up straight. In the skeletons' eye sockets, the light blue flames stared at the crowd like ghost fire, making people's hair stand on end. Undead! No one knew who shouted loudly, startling everyone, and their bodies trembled. They saw that the 4 black-armored knights glanced around. You dare to destroy here, die! The black-armored knight's mouth burst into a chilling voice. Then, the black-armored knights moved together. Dang dang, the ground was buzzing and trembling like an earthquake. A black-armored knight rushed toward a fallen cultivator. The cultivator's scalp exploded. Without saying a word, all kinds of protective means were madly used. Buzz, on his body, a few shields were immediately covered. Then, he threw out all the treasures to slow down the black-armored knight. However, boom, the treasures were like tofu. When they collided with the black-armored knight, they exploded. Apart from bursts of sparks, there was no damage at all. Even his speed did not slow down at all. The black-armored knight stood in front of the fallen immortal cultivator and looked down at him. The soul flame in his eye sockets danced slightly. Phew, the broadsword in his hand fell from the sky. It clearly had no power, but it caused the cultivators' bodies to tremble and their expressions to change greatly. No, the shouts stopped abruptly. Hua, the immortal cultivator's body was split in half and he fell down softly. Thud thud, the black-armored knight did not stop and continued to charge at the other cultivators. No, as soon as the shouts started, they stopped abruptly. No one could block a single strike from the black-armored knight. In front of the black-armored knight, all methods were like a joke. No one could harm the black-armored knight. The entire scene was like a battlefield of Azura. Broken limbs and pieces of flesh were flying everywhere. Damn it, damn it! Tu Tiangun struggled to stand up, his face extremely ugly. There was no fighting spirit on his face. Without thinking, he ran away. However, thud thud, a black-armored knight directly locked him and rushed toward him. That speed seemed slow, but it was actually extremely fast. In less than a breath, the black-armored knight had already arrived behind him. Shrink into an inch, this is an immortal skill. Tu Tiangun turned around and looked at the broadsword slashing down, his scalp tingling. Save me! Tu Tiangun let out a heart-wrenching roar. Phew! The broadsword was like cutting tofu. Boom! A sound rang out. A head rolled. On Tu Tianguan's head, his eyes widened with an unwilling look. Finally, his head rolled in front of Fang Xiaoxiao, staring at her. Fang Xiaoxiao looked at this scene and was scared out of her wit. She struggled frantically. However, the injury was too serious, and she couldn't stand up for a while. At this time, thud thud, a black-armored knight rushed over quickly. In the blink of an eye, he stood in front of Fang Xiaoxiao. Without any tender feelings for the fairer sex, he aimed at her and slashed. No, Fang Xiaoxiao closed her eyes and let out an unwilling roar. Ding, the sound of metal clashing rang out. The terrifying air wave directly shook Fang Xiaoxiao away. Boom! She hit the ground hard, bounced a few times, and fainted. Thud, the black-armored knight was knocked back 2 steps. He froze in place, looking ahead. Only to see, in front of the black-armored knight, a black shadow appeared out of thin air. Thud, thud, this black shadow, his body stepped straight back. It took a lot of strength to stabilize his figure. In the eyes of the black shadow, there was a look of consternation. He looked at the black-armored knight, his face full of fear. The black-armored knight was also staring at him, as if to see through him. For a while, there was no movement. Tao Protector! An exclamation sounded. The cultivators who were running away stopped one by one. What? The Tao Protector appeared? We are saved. The Tao Protector is a half-immortal, and his strength is extremely powerful. That's right, presumably, there should be no problem to deal with those undead creatures. Everyone looked at the black shadow, their eyes full of light. Thud, thud. The other 3 black-armored knights seemed to find something wrong and surrounded the black shadow. Seeing this scene, the black shadow's face was full of fear. Whoo! His figure disappeared in place. When he appeared again, he was already behind the black-armored knight. Aiming at the black-armored knight, he stabbed out with his sword. Buzz, the air vibrated. The sword intent whistled. Like waves, layer upon layer, it went straight to the black-armored knight. The terrifying power made people break out in a cold sweat. Sword intent manifestation. Many cultivators looked at this scene, dumbfounded. Seeing that, these sword intents were about to hit the black-armored knight. At this time, the black-armored knight instantly turned his body, raised his long blade, aimed at the front, and slashed. Gotcha! The sound like glass cracking rang out. The wave-like sword intent all broke apart. Boom! A loud noise shook the entire space, causing it to buzz and tremble. Thud, thud, the black-armored knight and the Tao Protector stepped back. With a lot of strength, the Tao Protector stabilized his body. In his eyes, there was a look of extreme fear. At the same time, the 3 black-armored knights had already surrounded. They stood in all directions, forming a corner, ready to launch an attack at any time. Damn it! The Tao Protector secretly cursed, and the intention to retreat was born. He glanced at Fang Xiaoxiao, who had fainted, with a firm face. Miss, don't worry, I will save you. After speaking, the Tao Protector's figure flashed and rushed toward a black-armored knight. Buzz, the black-armored knight, had already prepared a broadsword, aimed at the Tao Protector, and slashed over. Boom, the Tao Protector's figure was directly split into light and shadow and disappeared. Chapter 84. This diversion tactic is indeed useful. The Tao Protector had already jumped out of the black-armored knight's encirclement. The corner of his mouth rose, and his face was full of pride. However, in the next second, his face couldn't help but change dramatically. He saw that a black-armored knight appeared in front of him and slashed down at him. How is this possible? He quickly urged his strength and stabbed forward. Boom, a loud sound. The Tao Protector's body flew backward and hit the ground heavily. What? Even the Tao Protector was knocked back. Run, run, don't look. Without the teleportation array, where can we run? What should we do? A group of cultivators looked at this scene, their faces were full of fear. Only to see, after the Tao Protector landed, the black-armored knight appeared in front of him. Buzz! He waved his broadsword and quickly slashed down. The Tao Protector let out a roar, drew the strength of his body, and slashed out a long sword to block. However, boom, there was a loud sound. The Tao Protector flew flat on the ground, his whole body bent like a shrimp, looking like he was in pain. Just stop. Buzz, a broadsword slashed down. No, Hua. The broadsword cut off his arm as if it was cutting through tofu. Before the Tao Protector could let out a scream, but he saw 3 broadswords slash down at the same time. Hua! After 3 sounds, the Tao Protector was cut into 4 pieces, and blood flowed out. In his widened eyes there was endless unwillingness. All around there was dead silence. A Tao Protector that was a half-immortal. In front of 4 black-armored knights, he only lasted for a few breaths of time? These black-armored knights were extremely terrifying. Hiss! The cultivators sucked in a breath of cold air, and their bodies trembled violently. They stood in place, as if they were filled with lead, unable to move. My God, even the Tao Protector is dead! Even a half-immortal is not his opponent. How can we fight back? It's over, it's over! Cries of horror rang out continuously. The group of cultivators fled in all directions. However, thud thud, 2 black-armored knights stepped through the air, and in an instant, they blocked everyone's path of retreat. Pu Ci, wherever the black-armored knight went, there was the sound of his blade cutting through flesh. For a moment, minced meat flew everywhere. In front of the black-armored knight's broadsword, the treasures on the cultivators were vulnerable. Screams rang out incessantly. The pincer attack was like an Azura hell. Suddenly, the 2 black-armored knights directly locked Luo Liuyan's group. Thud thud then, 2 black-armored knights ran towards the 3 of them. Attack! When Renshur and Mu Bing looked at each other and nodded at the same time. The 2 of them, one in front and one behind, ran in 2 different directions. Mu Bing unsheathed her immortal sword and rushed to the front of the 2 black-armored knights like lightning. She extracted the power in her body and poured it into the sword. Buzz! There was a tremor. It was as if the celestial sword had grown out of her palm, crazily absorbing the power in her body. In less than a moment, Mu Bing's energy was completely drained. At this moment, the celestial sword automatically detached and rushed out. Humph! The black-armored knight snorted coldly, waved his long blade, and slashed at the celestial sword. Kacha! There was a sound. This sound was very light, like a chick breaking its shell. It seemed to have no power. In fact, its power was monstrous. The broadsword in the black-armored knight's hand shattered inch by inch. Immediately afterward, the black-armored knight's body also burst apart a little bit. Buzz! The shock wave shook all around. The shield on the nearby cultivators instantly shattered, and blood flowed from their mouths and noses. Boom! 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 The cultivators, like fairies scattering flowers, hit the ground heavily. On the other side, after the celestial sword extracted half of the power from one Renshur's body, it quickly flew towards the black-armored knight. Unsurprisingly, the 2 black-armored knights' bodies also collapsed and dissipated on the spot. A group of cultivators scattered and flew in all directions, hitting the ground. On the field, it was quiet. A group of cultivators fell to the ground, staring blankly around, and did not react for a long time. On everyone's face, there was a touch of joy after surviving a disaster. 1 sword strike killed the 2 black-armored knights? 2, it's incredible. Who are they? How could they be so powerful? I know her, she is Mu Bing, a student of the Supreme Court West Academy. That seems to be the dean of the Supreme Court West Academy. How did she become so young? What? It's them? I heard that they joined the Evil Suppression Alliance. Is Leader Luo here too? Look, Leader Luo is there. They saw. Luo Liuyan and the other 2 stood together. Luo Liuyan looked at Mu Bing, whose face was pale, and asked, "How are you?" "I'm fine, it's just that my power has been drained." Mu Bing waved her hand, indicating that she was fine. The immortal sword given by the young master is really terrifying. To fully exert its strength, the current me is far from enough. Yes. When Renshur's face showed a touch of shock, the young master gave us the immortal sword to deal with them. However, this old man is too weak, and can only use 2 moves at most. All of this is in the young master's calculation. A group of cultivators looked at the 3 people, and quickly gathered around. Without any hesitation, they knelt down to the 3 people. Thank you, Leader Luo, for saving our lives. Thank you, Dean One, for saving our lives. Thank you, Miss Mu Bing, for saving our lives. Looking at this scene, the three people came back to their senses. Get up. Saving you has nothing to do with us, Luo Luyan said. A bald head stood up and asked, Leader Luo, don't joke around, we all saw it. I'm not joking with you, we came here under the guidance of the godly cunning immortal. As soon as these words came out, everyone looked sluggish. In their eyes the light kept blooming. What? Godly cunning immortal? In this way, the godly cunning immortal calculated everything, knew that we were in danger, and sent Leader Luo to save us. That goes without saying. The godly cunning immortal is really the embodiment of justice. The faces of the cultivators were full of moved expressions. Especially those bald heads, they were moved to the extreme. Leader Luo, we want to join the Evil Suppression Alliance, what do you think? You. Looking at these bald heads, Luo Luyan thought of when they fought the lion rock beast. That physical body, compared to the evil race, was comparable. They were also people of the northern region, and it was not bad to develop forces there. Yes, but not now. Next, we have to help the godly cunning immortal get the soul calming pearl. Soul calming pearl? Everyone seemed to think of something, looked at the soul calming pearl together, and suddenly their faces changed slightly. They saw an immortal cultivator holding the soul calming pearl in his hand, laughing up to the sky. Ha ha, the soul calming pearl is mine. However, Poochie, a sound rang out. A black claw poured into his back and pierced his chest. In the claw there was a heart. Thump thump, the heart was beating. Whoo! The heart quickly dried up at a speed visible to the naked eye, and then collapsed into flying ash, disappearing. The immortal cultivator stared blankly at his chest with a look of disbelief. The hand holding the soul calming pearl also slowly loosened. Whoo! The soul calming pearl fell down and fell right into a black claw. Plop! The immortal cultivator's body fell down softly. His pale face was twisted and hideous, full of unwillingness. A black shadow appeared. He was dressed in black armor, and his whole body exuded a metallic luster, looking indestructible. The black shadow's face was covered with a ghost-shaped mask, and his appearance could not be seen. Jia jia, a burst of strange laughter came from the ghost mask, making people's hair stand on end. Not good, they are the people of the heart-devouring clan, a branch of the evil race. What? Heart-devouring clan? What should we do? It's just him. What are you afraid of? Attack him together and destroy him. Chapter 85. Dong dong, Huang Ruming's heart beat violently, and the call in her mind became more and more intense. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before he could meet the old ancestor and obtain the inheritance. Thinking of this, a bright light flickered on Huang Ruming's face. Save me, who can save me? A cry for help came from ahead. Huang Ruming turned a deaf ear to these voices. Along the way, he had encountered too many people asking for help. They resisted the raging flames, and after their spiritual power was exhausted, they were finally burned to ashes. Soon, the two of them arrived at the source of the sound. A man's body was twitching, and the spiritual energy shield on his body was constantly swaying in the raging flames. He looked like he would be burned to ashes at any moment. Suddenly, the man raised his eyebrows. When he saw Sun Hao, his eyes bloomed with a strange light. He looked like a drowning man who saw a life-saving straw. Buzz, without thinking about it, he picked up the long sword, aimed it at Sun Hao, and attacked. His speed was as fast as lightning. Seeing this violent blow, Sun Hao shook his head slightly. Again, he stood there, motionless, seeing that the man's long sword was about to stab Sun Hao. At this moment, bang, the long sword in the man's hand turned into ashes at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then, it was the man's arm. That kind of fear of death directly scared the man out of his wits, and his face was full of regret. No, he let out an unwilling roar. In the end, his body, along with his voice, turned into ashes. Sun Hao looked at the flying ash in the air, and shook his head for a while. If you want to take someone's life, you must be prepared to be killed. Along the way, all the cultivators who attacked him were obliterated by Huang Rumring. With Rumring by his side, he was extremely safe in this blood phoenix nest. It seemed that Huang Rumring's realm was even more terrifying than he had imagined. Rumring, are we almost there? Sun Hao asked. Young master, it's right in front. Huang Rumring pointed ahead of the passage and said, All right. The two of them did not slow down and continued to move forward. Along the way, whether it was a flame monster or a cultivator, as long as they dared to attack Sun Hao, the result was to turn into flying ash. An hour later, the two arrived at their destination. This was a circular cavern that was several hundred meters high. It was large enough to contain a city. Inside the cavern, there was a 100-meter-tall skeleton of a bird, lying in the center of the cavern like a building. In the skull of the giant bird, a scarlet bead was emitting scarlet flames. Few, terrifying heat waves spread from the bead in all directions, burning the entire cave red. Thousands of cultivators stood beneath the skeleton. Every one of them was gritting their teeth and roaring angrily as they walked towards the pearl. At the back of the crowd, there was a gentle-looking woman. She held a sword and stood at the very back. Her eyes were fixed on the bead, not moving at all. She was Xian Yuanshi. When she saw Sun Hao coming, her pupils shrank slightly. What? He didn't even use his spiritual energy shield, yet he was completely unharmed? How was this possible? Xian Yuanshi looked more and more surprised. The temperature inside was as high as 10,000 degrees. Even a cultivator in the crossing calamity state would have to try his best to deal with it. The spiritual energy in his body disappeared quickly like water. Every half an hour, he would have to replenish his supply of pills. Otherwise, once his spiritual energy was completely depleted, he would be reduced to ashes. His clothes aren't even on fire? It seems that set of clothes must be a top-grade spirit weapon. However, even if it's a top-grade spirit weapon, it can't withstand such a high temperature, right? There are only two possibilities. Either that young master's physical body is extremely strong, or that young master is a peerless expert. It is very likely that he is an immortal. Thinking of this, Xian Yuanshi took a breath of cold air. Unexpectedly, she could see an immortal here. If she could form a good relationship with an immortal, her family crisis might be solved. It must be much more useful than getting that monster core. Thinking of this, Xian Yuanshi turned around, walked in front of Sun Hao, and bowed to salute. Xian Yuanshi greets the former, before she finished speaking. The young master is practicing as a mortal. If you dare to break the young master's Tao heart, I guarantee that you will die here immediately. Huang Ruming's voice came, shaking Xian Yuanshi's ears. She nodded secretly when she heard this. Xian Yuanshi greets the young master. Xian Yuanshi saluted. Xian Yuanshi? Good name, you're welcome. Sun Hao looked at Xian Yuanshi and looked at her carefully. Xian Yuanshi looked a little quiet. On her pretty face, she bit her lips lightly as if she had 1,000 words to say, but she couldn't speak. This young lady was very polite, unlike the other cultivators who would pounce on him and try to kill him before he even said anything. In the end, she ended up dead. Later, he must give her something. What should he give her? By the way, her name is Xian Yuanshi? Then I'll give her a set of calligraphy. Sun Hao murmured and made a decision. Buzz, suddenly, there was a sound. Under the blood phoenix monster core, the air shook up layers of ripples. A book appeared on the ground out of thin air. On the cover of the book, the 4 big words, Devouring Heaven Demonic Technique, strongly stimulated the eyes of the cultivators. It's really the Devouring Heaven Demonic Technique. My God, it is said that this is a cultivation method created by an ancient powerhouse. If anyone can learn it, their cultivation speed will increase by leaps and bounds. Let's go and get the devouring heaven demonic technique. At this time, the cultivators moved together and rushed toward the devouring heaven demonic technique. Huang Ruming's face changed slightly, pressing her violently beating heart. Young master, the old ancestor is calling, wait for me here. After speaking, Huang Ruming's figure slowly disappeared. This, Sun Hao was stunned. Without Huang Ruming by his side, who would protect him? It was not safe in this vicious place. What should he do? Sun Hao stared at Xian Yuanshi. He saw that Xian Yuanshi also stared at the devouring heaven demonic technique, her eyes blooming with greed. She was about to rush forward. At this time, Miss Xian Yuan, wait! This sound, like a thunderclap, woke Xian Yuanshi up. The greed in her heart had dissipated completely. At this time, there were screams coming from the front. Tens of thousands of blood-colored silk threads suddenly appeared above the monster core. In the blink of an eye, they entangled the cultivators who rushed to the front. These blood threads frantically devoured the flesh and blood of these cultivators, turning into a stream of energy and rushing to the monster core. The cultivator's body shriveled at a speed visible to the naked eye, and finally turned into a skeleton. Boom! The skeleton fell to the ground and exploded into dust. In less than a breath, hundreds of cultivators died tragically. Such a scene directly scared the group of cultivators to the point of stupefaction. They struggled frantically and retreated. However, on the monster core, there was a vibration. The dazzling red light enveloped them at once. At this moment, they were in a quagmire, in a dilemma. No, don't. Help! Who will help me? I won't be greedy anymore, please let me go. The whole scene was chaotic. Chapter 86. Screams kept ringing. The cultivators kept disappearing. In less than a moment, nearly 1,000 cultivators died tragically. Only Huang Ruming stood under the blood phoenix demon core. She sat cross-legged on the ground, closed her eyes, and looked like she was cultivating. Such a scene strongly stimulated Xian Yuanshi's nerve. Facing those bloodlines, she could confirm that there was absolutely no chance of survival. Just a little bit more and he would have ended up dead. It was simply terrible. The forbidden zone of life was really true. Fortunately, the young master stopped me, so I was spared. After calming down, Xian Yuanshi turned around and looked at Sun Hao. Young master. Miss Xian Yuan, can you protect me? Sun Hao asked tentatively. There was no way. Huang Ruming was not around. It was really terrible here. Just now, those immortal cultivators had all died inexplicably. It was simply a sure hell. As a last resort, she could only bite the bullet and say such words. Protect? Xian Yuanshi looked stunned, and her face showed a touch of surprise. Young master, you are clearly protecting me. Damn it, the young master is experiencing the mortal world with a mortal body. You can't break it. If I break the young master's Tao heart, 10,000 deaths can't absolve me. Xian Yuanshi wiped her cold sweat with her hand, thinking it was dangerous. Of course. Xian Yuanshi said. Thank you, Miss Xian Yuan. Sun Hao breathed a sigh of relief. Young master is welcome. Xian Yuanshi said. Sun Hao sat down cross-legged and looked at Huang Ruming with a worried face. His heart beat violently as if it was about to jump out. He looked at Huang Ruming, his eyes motionless. He saw, under the blood phoenix demon core, Huang Ruming sat cross-legged in place, her eyebrows slightly frowning. On top of her head, tens of thousands of red silk threads hung from the demon core and drilled into the top of Huang Ruming's head. A stream of fiery red airflow, along the silk, rushed down and drilled into Huang Ruming's body. Huang Ruming's aura was soaring rapidly. Child, open your mind, this old man wants to pass on the heaven-devouring demonic technique to you. With it, you will be able to crush the world in the future. A series of roars sounded in Huang Ruming's mind. Huang Ruming frowned tightly, relaxed her mind, and allowed the terrifying power to pour into her mind. Endless pain surged throughout his body. Huang Rumming gritted her teeth and persisted, remaining motionless. As time passed, the blood phoenix demon core grew dimmer and dimmer. Finally, all the luster disappeared cleanly. Bang! The demon core exploded into powder and scattered in all directions. Boom! There was a loud noise. The blood phoenix's skeleton seemed to lose some kind of support and collapsed. In the end, it exploded bit by bit and disappeared. Even the heaven-gorging demonic skill had disappeared. Now, only Huang Rumming was sitting cross-legged on the spot. The expression on her face became more and more relaxed. Suddenly, Huang Rumming frowned, her face full of panic. In her mind, a blood-red figure slowly took shape. This figure was erratic. It was the remnant soul of the blood phoenix. Ha ha! The blood phoenix roared towards the heavens, as if it had gone mad. This is really an extremely perfect body. I, the blood phoenix, am going to be resurrected again. Not only does she have the divine phoenix bloodline, but she also has the pure ancient elven bloodline. What? Lightning tribulation light? I have 3 supreme constitutions. Did my blood phoenix hit the jackpot? God bless me. My persistence has not been in vain. Han Xing, you didn't expect it, right? You have been obliterated by time, and I can be reborn again. Ha! After speaking, the blood phoenix laughed again. Huang Rumming's consciousness body looked at the blood phoenix's body with a puzzled face. Ancestor, you? Little girl, I don't want to hurt you. Your soul, leave on your own so that you can survive for a while. The blood phoenix's voice was cold. Ancestor, you want to take my body? Huang Rumming looked incredulous. Aren't you talking nonsense? It's a complete waste to let you control such a strong talent. Honestly, hand it over to me, and you can avoid the pain of your soul dispersing, the blood phoenix said. Hearing this, Huang Rumming secretly sighed. It seems that you are really not a good person. It just so happens that I am already prepared. After speaking, Huang Rumming waved her right hand. Buzz, the light flashed, and a cage quickly formed. In the blink of an eye, it wrapped the blood phoenix's remnant soul tightly. Above the cage, the 10-colored electric light flickered constantly. The blood phoenix reached out and touched it, and wisps of black smoke rose from its body. This is impossible. The blood phoenix's face was full of fear. Your soul, how can it be so strong? The blood phoenix said. Huang Rumming smiled slightly. Ancestor, when you called me, I knew that you were up to no good. Just now, I hid 90% of my soul to lure you into the trap. You want to devour this old man? That's right. Ha ha! The blood phoenix laughed again. Little girl, then you underestimate this old man too much? With just you? Even if your soul is 10 times stronger than mine, so what? You will scatter your soul for this seat. After speaking, the blood phoenix's aura soared, and the blood chi on its body increased wildly. In the blink of an eye, the blood phoenix's aura increased 100 times. Seeing this scene, Huang Rumming's face changed drastically. You don't want to live, burning the remnant soul like this, you will definitely die. Ha ha! As long as this old man defeats you and swallows your soul, this old man can live. At that time, if I cultivate for another 100,000 years and come out again, I will definitely be invincible in the world. After speaking, the blood phoenix raised its fist and blasted it on the cage. Boom! A loud noise shook Huang Rumming's head, and her face changed slightly. If this continued, the blood phoenix would be able to break free in at most half a quarter of an hour. At that time, the consequences would be unimaginable. Fortunately, the young master came. It turned out that the young master had long known that I would have this tribulation. Regardless of the damage to his Tao heart, he actually came to help me. Young master, Rumming will be yours in the future. Huang Rumming retracted her consciousness and returned to her body. She looked at Sun Hao, and in her eyes, tears of emotion were brewing. It took a long time to suppress her emotions. She stood up and walked to Sun Hao's side. Seeing Huang Rumeng coming, Sun Hao's eyes lit up. Rumeng, how is it? Young master, it's done. Huang Rumeng nodded, took out the ancient zither from the space ring, and put it on the ground. Young master, can you play a song with me? Huang Rumeng asked. Of course. Sun Hao said without any hesitation. Young master, what song shall we play? Huang Rumeng asked. Rumeng, why don't we play the Tranquil Heart song? To tell the truth, he had an inexplicable panic. Playing this song would make him feel much better. Okay. Huang Rumeng sat down cross-legged. The two looked at each other and began to play. In Huang Rumeng's mind, the blood phoenix sneered when he saw this scene. Little girl, giving up resistance? That's good. You're quite self-aware. You want to play the zither? Could it be that you want to play the zither against me? Haha, it's really funny. The words just fell. Buzz, the sound of the zither sounded. This sound shook the blood phoenix's body constantly, and his face changed drastically. Just one sound and he lost 10% of his strength. If this went on, 10 sounds would be over. This is impossible. This is absolutely impossible. You, who the hell are you? How can a mortal be so powerful? The blood phoenix roared loudly, and his face was full of unwillingness. However, these voices could only ring in Huang Rumeng's mind and did not come out at all. Somewhere in the blood phoenix nest, the two extreme guardians saw this scene and breathed a long sigh of relief. It seems that the Supreme Existence is not here to destroy. Yes, I didn't expect that the Supreme Existence is here to clean up the blood phoenix. This time, the blood phoenix will definitely die. It seems that the human race is hopeful. We don't have to worry anymore. And let's see how those three little guys are doing. Chapter 87. Soul Calming Pearl. Haha, the ghost-masked man held the soul calming pearl and laughed up to the sky. When the cultivators saw this scene, they were chilled, and their faces were full of anger. Evil race, it's just him, kill him together. Hearing this, the masked man smiled coldly. Just by you? After speaking, the masked man snapped his fingers. Snap! Behind the masked man, 11 black mists suddenly surged. The black mist rotated, and the ripples spread out. When the black mist disappeared, 11 figures appeared behind him. Each figure was dressed in black armor, their faces were covered with masks, and their faces could not be seen clearly. The leader was the Heart-Devouring clan's General, Soul Devourer. He walked directly in front of the masked man. Soul Devourer, not bad. Did you really get the Soul Calming Pearl? That's natural. The High Priest has a wonderful plan. It's easy to get this. Soul Devourer's voice revealed an extremely proud expression. The cultivators looked at this scene, and their faces changed. Soul Devourer? Soul Devourer? Heart Devourer clan's general? Doesn't it mean that the 10 people around them are the 10 generals? What? The Heart-Devouring clan came out in full force? What should we do? It's over. A general is enough to crush us. Every cultivator's face was full of despair. Many people collapsed to the ground, their faces ashen. Lu Luyan looked at this scene with a trace of fear on her face. She looked at Wen Rensher and nodded slightly. Wen Rensher moved. Holding a long sword, he rushed toward Soul Devourer and the others. Humph, a little bug, I'll do it. A general picked up a flying knife and threw it out with a finger. Buzz, the flying knife rubbed against the air, bursting out with a harsh roar. The terrifying power shook the air around it, constantly twisting. The air waves shook and the dust flew. Looking at this scene, Wen Rensher smiled coldly. Ignorant child, the young master has already calculated everything. What kind of storm can you turn over? Wen Rensher poured his power into the immortal sword. Then, he used the sky-piercing sword technique. Buzz, there was a shock. Space seemed to freeze. Time seemed to stand still. Everyone's expression seemed to be fixed. Only the immortal sword in Wen Rensher's hand was moving. Swish, rays of sword light separated from the immortal sword and flew towards the sky. In the blink of an eye, thousands of sword lights were formed, stacking on top of each other and dancing in the air. The 10,000 sword lights fused with the immortal sword once again. Swish, the immortal sword shot forward. Time resumed at this moment. Bang! A sound rang out. The immortal sword pierced the flying dagger. The flying dagger shattered into pieces. This is impossible. The general's expression changed drastically as he shook his head continuously. However, just as he finished speaking, the immortal sword disappeared in an instant. Bang! The flying sword pierced through the warrior's forehead, and the warrior's body collapsed. When Soul Eater and the others saw this, their scalps went numb, and their bodies felt like they had sunk into hell. Run! Soul Eater roared. However, it was too late. Boom! The immortal sword was fast like lightning, quickly flying about. Every time it pierced through someone, a loud noise would erupt. No, shouts rang out incessantly. The 10 generals, without exception, all fell to the ground. Damn it! Seeing the immortal sword flying over, Soul Eater's face changed dramatically. The black gas on his body rushed out, forming a big black hand, blocking in front of him. On the other side, Soul Eater gritted his teeth and roared, madly squeezing the black gas on his body and pouring it into the big black hand. In the blink of an eye, this big hand grew to 100 meters high like a building standing horizontally in the air. Swish, the immortal sword arrived quickly and collided with the big black hand. Boom! Boom! The sound of explosions rang out constantly. The shock wave whistled everywhere. The cultivators 1,000 meters away flew upside down. The whole space trembled constantly as if it was about to collapse. When everything calmed down, the immortal sword returned to One Rincher's hand. Everyone looked at the scene in front of them, and their faces changed slightly. They saw that Soul Eater and Soul Eater fell to the ground, struggling frantically, spitting out black blood from time to time. The black gas on his body floated up with the wind like smoke. It seemed that his breath was weak and would fall at any time. Boom! The soul-calming pearl rolled on the ground. All around it was quiet. Everyone stared at this scene blankly, their faces full of shock. One sword smashed the 10 generals, one blow seriously injured the 2 marshals. How many people in the world can compare? When Rincher picked up the soul-calming pearl and looked at the Soul Eater. Say, do you have any last words? You are a 3rd stage ascendant realm, how can you kill so many of us? The long sword in your hand, is it an immortal sword? As soon as these words came out, there was a moment of silence around. What? Immortal sword? Oh my God! No wonder Dean Wen is so powerful. Doesn't that mean Mu Bing's is also an immortal sword? Oh my God, they actually have such a peerless treasure. The sound of explosions rang out constantly. Everyone's eyes swept over the 2, and their eyes were full of envy. When Rincher didn't care about these at all. He stared at the Soul Eater, and the corner of his mouth raised. Since you have finished saying your last words, then go to hell. After speaking, when Rincher waved the long sword and slashed forward. No, ding, 2 sounds rang out at the same time. The dazzling white light made people unable to open their eyes. The sharp roar was deafening. The faces of the cultivators were full of pain. After a while, the surroundings returned to calm. Seeing the scene in front of them, everyone's faces changed drastically. They saw. Who? When Rincher flew out like a kite with a broken string. Finally, he fell to the ground and vomited blood. Looking at the Soul Eater again, there was an old man standing in front of him. The muscle lines on his body were clear, and he looked like a dry old tree, making it impossible to tell his gender. Those eyes were dark and lifeless, like the black water in a dead pool, making people dare not look directly at them. In this person's hand, he was holding the immortal sword and the soul-calming pearl. It was this person who made a move just now. Pharaoh. Seeing this person, the eyes of the Soul Eater and the others regained hope. Trash. Pharaoh opened his mouth, his voice cold. Can't even deal with a little baby, so weak. Pharaoh, their chests stagnated, and they lowered their heads and stopped talking. Pharaoh looked at the immortal sword in his hand and opened his dry lips. It really is an immortal sword, even this seat can't see the grade, not bad. Suddenly, in Pharaoh's dead eyes, there was a hint of panic. Wow! He held the immortal sword in his hand and cut it off. Damn, even this seat's power can be swallowed. This sword immortal is not simple. Pharaoh looked at the immortal sword, his face full of fear. On the other side, Luo Yen and the others looked at Pharaoh, their faces changing. Mu Bing took out the dragon statue. However, there was no trace of power in her body, and she couldn't activate it at all. I'll do it. Luo Yen took out the climb to heights, and was about to open it. Buzz, there was a shock. A terrifying force wrapped the scroll and took it away directly. The scroll floated in the air and flew to Pharaoh. Another immortal weapon, a little interesting. Little baby, since you dare to attack this seat, I will torture you later. After speaking, Pharaoh waved his right hand, and thousands of black threads wrapped Luo Yen in an instant, tying her up like a dumpling. Then, it was Mu Bing and Wenrensher. Boom, the three were thrown aside by Pharaoh. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't break free. After doing this, Pharaoh stood there expressionlessly. He seemed calm, but in fact, his heart was in turmoil. Just now, he used half of his power to suppress the scroll. Now, the scroll seemed to have no movement, but its strength was struggling wildly, and it could break the seal at any time. Damn it, which immortal created this painting? The paper used is made of immortal wood. If this scroll is opened, I'm afraid this old man will die here today. Pharaoh's face was full of fear. Chapter 88. You little bugs, all go to hell. Pharaoh looked at the cultivators who fell to the ground, cold killing intent written all over his face. His right hand gently pointed forward, and the air vibrated. A stream of black gas surged out, quickly condensed, and turned into a monster. Howl! The monster was dark all over, with long horns on its head. Bursts of roars seemed to be able to shatter the soul. In the blink of an eye, nearly 1,000 monsters filled all around. Boom! The monsters moved together, stepping on the ground, buzzing and trembling. At this moment, the immortal cultivators were scared out of their wits and shivered. No, don't! Shouts, screams rang out constantly. These cultivators were like brittle paper in front of the monsters, unable to resist at all. In less than a moment, nearly 100 cultivators died tragically on the spot. Supreme Chief God, please save us. Master of all worlds, please save our lives. What's the use of asking for these? It's better to ask the godly cunning immortal. Godly cunning immortal, you have done everything, please save my life. My red refining sect will follow your lead from now on. The cultivators knelt on the ground, put their hands together, and began to pray. Pharaoh looked at this scene, and the corner of his mouth raised a faint smile. If prayer works, is there still a need to cultivate? The next second, Pharaoh's face changed dramatically. He saw that the picture scroll in front of him trembled wildly. Boom! The power that bound the scroll cracked with a sound. The picture scroll unfolded, flew up, and grew rapidly. The man and woman in the painting walked down step by step. They walked down hand in hand and finally stood in midair, looking down. These two people, their figures were hazy, and their appearances could not be seen clearly. At this time, the woman said, "Young master, can you play a song with me?" "Of course." The man nodded. "Young master, what song shall we play?" The woman asked. "Rumming. How about playing the meditation song? The man said. Then, in front of the two ancient zither appeared, and the 10 fingers moved together and began to play. Ding! A sound of zither shook in all directions. At this moment, the space stagnated, and time stood still. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the man and woman in the air, watching quietly. That's the young master. When Luo Luyen saw this scene, she cried with joy. She already knew that the young master had calculated everything. Today, even though he was bound, he did not panic at all. The young master had waited until now to make a move, so it was to catch the big fish, the pharaoh. Young master, you really control everything, Luo Luyen murmured, her face full of worship. Mu Bing and Wen Renshi looked at this scene, and their hearts were instantly relieved. Shame was written all over their faces. Young master, I actually suspected that you did not calculate the evil race. It seems that I'm really stupid, even daring to doubt you, Wen Renshi secretly said. Young master, as Luyen said, you really have a wonderful plan. A never-before-seen smile appeared on Mu Bing's face. Their eyes were filled with reverence as they looked at the two figures in the sky. Boom, the sound of the zither continued. The scene in front of the cultivators changed rapidly. At this moment, everyone felt as if they had returned home. They were hugging their loved ones and chatting about the past and present. It was a very comfortable atmosphere. His tensed heart slowly relaxed at this moment. Many people closed their eyes and lay on the ground with the corners of their mouths slightly raised. Their state of mind was rapidly improving. In front of the cultivators, the monsters that rushed over, after hearing these zither sounds, stopped moving forward. Their bodies, one by one, collapsed into black mist and evaporated cleanly. Ah no, Soul Eater and Soul Eater screamed shrilly as they held their heads. Their bodies melted quickly. Finally, they turned into a paralyzed black pus and separated from the skeleton. The stench was overwhelming. Pharaoh hugged his head and fell to the ground, screaming in pain. He looked at the two figures in the sky, and his eyes were about to crack. The billowing killing intent surged up from his body. Damn it, stop playing, hurry up and stop for this old man. If you play again, this old man will not be polite. Don't force me. Pharaoh roared angrily and struggled frantically. It was just useless. Whatever he did, in front of the zither sound, was like a joke. As the sound of the zither sounded, his withered flesh and blood were also turning into pus. Ah, you forced me to do this. Pharaoh looked up to the sky and roared. His body changed rapidly. Kaka, the sound of joints exploding continued. After a while, he changed into a giant skeleton with a height of 100 meters. In his hand, he clenched a giant axe. It looked like a powerhouse who created the world. Die! The giant skeleton spat out the human language, aimed at the sky, and slashed the axe over. Buzz, the sky seemed to be cut apart, swaying layers of ripples. The shock wave, like a tsunami, spread out rapidly. In an instant, it blasted on the two figures in the sky. However, the two figures, just following the ripples up and down, were not affected in the slightest. Phantom? Pharaoh froze in place, with a look of disbelief. He had charged up all his strength for an attack, but it only hit a phantom? How could this be? Clang, the sound of the zither continued to sound. Every time it blasted on Pharaoh's body, it would push him back a few steps. The more it went on, the more extravagant it was for Pharaoh to even stand up. No, don't. Pharaoh trembled violently, supporting his body with his hands. He looked at the two phantoms in the sky, dead eyes, as if to remember the appearance of the two people. Godly, cunning, immortal? It must be you guys. Pharaoh roared, took out a secret pattern jade slip, and gently held it. Buzz, the jade was simplified into an illusory butterfly, fluttering gently. Reporting to the Lord, to achieve great things, we must destroy the godly, cunning, immortal. The butterfly danced lightly, the body slowly became illusory, disappearing without a trace. After doing this, Pharaoh's eyes gradually lost their luster. Plop! There was a loud noise. The huge body fell directly to the ground, smashing into a cloud of dust. The Guqin sound continued. The ancient array patterns on the ground could not withstand the power of the Guqin sound and were disappearing little by little. When the Guqin sound ended, The lingering sound lingered. It took a long time for the surroundings to gradually calm down. Everyone slowly opened their eyes, and a smile rose on their faces. When they looked at the huge skeleton in front of them, their faces were full of shock. It turns out that all of this is not a dream. Who are the two people who played the music just now? It actually has such amazing power. It seems that the evil race pharaoh is shouting godly cunning immortal. What? The godly cunning immortal has arrived. Oh my God! Our piety touched the godly cunning immortal, and he specially came just to save us. Everyone muttered to themselves. Gratitude, worship, awe, all kinds of expressions were written on everyone's face. Not good. Suddenly, a cry of alarm sounded. What's wrong? My soul has actually become dozens of times stronger. What? Is this for real? Oh my God! My soul has also been strengthened dozens of times. God, I have strengthened so much soul, then my talent will not be stronger by dozens of times? That goes without saying. From today on, those chosen are a joke in front of us. The sound of explosions kept ringing. When Luo Luoyan heard this, she couldn't help but smile and shake her head. She quickly took back the scroll, then picked up the soul-calming pearl on the ground and put it in the space ring. Let's go and destroy the blood phoenix, Luo Luoyan said. Okay. When Renshur and Mu Bing nodded at the same time. After listening to the song just now, not only her body recovered, but her strength was also further improved. The young master's means were simply unimaginable. They had just taken a step forward. At this time, Leader Luo, wait. A group of cultivators surrounded them. What do you want? Luo Luoyan asked. Leader Luo, we want to join the Evil Suppression Alliance. Please accept us. Yes, Leader Luo, on behalf of the Red Refining Sect, we all join the Evil Suppression Alliance. Leader Luo, everything today is thanks to the godly cunning immortal. From today on, my life belongs to the godly cunning immortal. Please accept me and let me do something for the godly cunning immortal. Hearing this, Luo Luoyan smiled slightly. Since you have obtained the good fortune of the godly cunning immortal, then you can naturally join the Evil Suppression Alliance. However, the godly cunning immortal also arranged one thing, which is to destroy the blood phoenix. Who wants to join me? As soon as these words came out, the eyes of the cultivators bloomed. Leader Luo, me. I'm willing too. Somewhere in the blood phoenix nest, the two extreme guardians slowly opened their eyes. On their faces there was endless joy. The supreme existence is really too powerful. This method is simply unheard of. Yes, my remnant soul has not only recovered to its peak, but it has also strengthened a lot. If this goes on, I can hold on for at least 10,000 years. I didn't expect that the two of us would get such a good fortune today. This method, even the master can't compare at all. Yes. The two extreme guardians nodded together, and it took a long time to calm down. Look. What? The two extreme arrays arranged by the master are actually all obliterated. Isn't the supreme existence too terrifying? The two opened their mouths wide, and their faces were full of astonishment. Not good, those three little guys are going to leave. The master's good fortune hasn't been given to them yet. I think forget it, just the master's good fortune. How can those three little guys take a fancy to it? Hey, yes, the song just now, compared with the master's good fortune, is 10,000 times stronger. More than that, I saw 100 million times less. Chapter 89. The blood phoenix hugged his head and fell into Huang Ruming's soul sea, screaming in pain. Don't play, spare me. I was wrong, I was really wrong. The blood phoenix remnant soul, like a candle in the wind, would be extinguished at any time. However, no matter how he begged for mercy, it was useless. The sound of the zither kept coming. A burst of soul-splitting pain kept coming. The remnant soul was like a candle in the wind, it would be extinguished at any time. The figure of his remnant soul was getting dimmer and dimmer. Soon it was 90% illusory. Please, stop playing. I will pass on the devouring heaven demonic technique to you, okay? As long as you spare my life. The blood phoenix said. Hee, I don't care about this cultivation technique. Huang Ruming's consciousness condensed, smiling and shaking her head. I am your ancestor, spare my life. You can't deceive your master like this. You will be punished by heaven. The blood phoenix said. Hee, don't say that you are not my direct ancestor. Just based on the fact that you led the divine phoenix race to extinction back then, you deserve to die. Die. Huang Ruming waved her right hand. Buzz, tens of thousands of hand shadows, layer upon layer, condensed into a palm, and blasted towards the blood phoenix. This is the legendary Nirvana handprint. You actually learned it? No, the voice stopped abruptly. The blood phoenix remnant soul was annihilated into powder and disappeared without a trace. What was left for Huang Ruming was only the pure bloodline and the great Tao of destruction. Huang Ruming's consciousness quietly felt all this, swallowing frantically. A moment later, the consciousness opened her eyes, and her face was full of surprise. I reached the 7th stage of Ascendant Realm. Huang Ruming murmured, her face full of surprise. The higher the Ascendant Realm, the more difficult it was to convert spiritual power into immortal power. Some powerhouses could only convert 50% in their lifetime. In other words, they could only stop at the 5th stage of Ascendant Realm for the rest of their lives. In just over a month, she cultivated from the Crossing Calamity Realm to the 7th stage of Ascendant Realm. In the entire Purple Sun Star, this was also unimaginable. All of this was thanks to the young master. Young master, if it wasn't for you this time, I would not be able to repay it. Young master, I am afraid I will not be able to repay it in my life. Young master, let Ruming stay by your side. Huang Ruming's consciousness dissipated and regained control of her body. She and Sun Hao looked at each other and smiled slightly. Everything was in silence. Sun Hao looked at Huang Ruming and nodded slightly. This girl's talent in playing the zither was truly amazing. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before he caught up to him. Now, after playing this song, the fear in his heart had completely disappeared. Behind them, Xianyuan sure stood there, stunned for a long time. One piece of zither music actually increased his talent by 100-fold. This method was completely imbued with wisdom by an immortal. Both of them were immortals. I'm actually protecting an immortal? Listening to an immortal play music? This isn't a dream, right? Xianyuanshi's face was full of astonishment, and she couldn't help but pinch herself secretly. Ouch, it hurts! Looks like this good fortune is real. If this goes on, I'll be able to resolve the clan's crisis in less than half a year. Xianyuanshi muttered to herself, looking at Sun Hao's back with gratitude. Ruming, is it all right? Sun Hao said. Young master, it's all right. Huang Ruming nodded. Then let's go out. Sun Hao said. Okay. The two stood up and happened to see Xianyuanshi. Miss Xianyuan, thank you just now. When we go out later, I have a little gift for you. I hope you can accept it. Sun Hao said. What? Young master has a gift for me? This is probably a top-grade spirit item. I can actually encounter such a good fortune. If it is a top-grade spirit sword, then I will definitely win first place in the family competition. At that time, those uncles would not dare to be so arrogant. Xianyuanshi bowed and saluted. Thank you, young master. You're welcome, let's go out first. Okay. Huang Ruming stood up. Young master, wait a moment. After speaking, she raised her right hand, aimed at the sky, and blasted out a punch. Oem, a layer of circular air wave shook up from Huang Ruming's fist. Boom! There was a dull sound. The stone wall above the cave fell down piece by piece. A huge hole went straight to the sky. Ruming's strength is so terrifying. In the future, with her following me, I can go anywhere. Sun Hao's eyes shone brightly. Huang Rumeng set up her flying sword and took Sun Hao into the sky. Xian Yuanshi followed closely behind. A moment later, the three flew to the forbidden land of death and came to the southern valley. After landing, Sun Hao said, "Rumeng, please help me take out the painting tools." "Yes, young master." Then, Sun Hao looked at Xian Yuanshi and said, "Miss Xian Yuan, can I give you a calligraphy painting?" "Calligraphy painting? Is this useful?" "Young master, give me a top-grade spirit sword." Xian Yuanshi was depressed in her heart, but she did not dare to show any change on her face. "Everything is arranged by the young master," Xian Yuanshi said. "Well, I'll write a sentence for you." Sun Hao looked at Xian Yuanshi and nodded secretly. The flat drawing paper instantly scared Xian Yuanshi in place. This paper is actually spirit wood. No, it's made of immortal wood. Who is the young master?" Xian Yuanshi looked at the immortal wood drawing paper in front of her, and she had a million impulses to take it for herself. However, she held back. In front of an immortal, daring to grab the drawing paper was tantamount to courting death. Not to mention, the immortal wanted to give her a painting. Xian Yuanshi's heart beat violently involuntarily. "I can't see through that brush. I'm afraid it's also an immortal weapon. That ink strip is also an immortal item. I'm afraid that the clothes on the young master's body are also immortal clothes." At this point, Xian Yuanshi took a cold breath, and shock was written all over her face. It took her a long time to calm down and continue to watch Sun Hao's movements. She saw that the ink had been ground. Sun Hao began to splash the ink. 14 big words, like flying dragons and snakes, were printed on the drawing paper. The sword Qi crossed 30,000 miles, and one sword light chilled 19 continents. The terrifying sword intent and Dao rhyme gushed out like a tsunami. Xian Yuanshi looked at this sentence in a daze, and her whole person was scared silly. That domineering alone was unmatched. Only an immortal could have such a state of mind. This painting was definitely a supreme treasure. The young master said he wanted to give it to me? Am I dreaming? Then, Xian Yuanshi pinched herself again, and the pain made her grimace. "Damn it, I still don't want the young master's painting. I'm a king fool." With this painting, it only takes 1 day for my sword intent to go up a few levels. This kind of opportunity, I'm afraid I can't cultivate for a lifetime. Xian Yuanshi thought secretly. "Miss Xian Yuan, what do you think of this calligraphy and painting?" Sun Hao said. "Dragon and Phoenix Dance, it's really a peerless masterpiece, and no one can match it." Xian Yuanshi's face was full of admiration. "I'm flattered. This painting is for Miss Xian Yuan."